What's up, everybody? So I'm just getting back in the house, and I got in here just in time for the defense closing arguments for the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So I figured I'd live stream it and give my 2 cents on
Please
it.
the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good afternoon. Showing you a snippet of State's Exhibit 18, which Mr. Binger just spent 3 or 4 minutes showing that Mr. Rosenbaum wasn't around. My client couldn't know that he wraps his head in orange. Chain, bag, orange. Ladies and gentlemen, we had this video almost as long as they've had this video. But Mr. Binger will use this video to lie to your faces and tell you that Kyle Rittenhouse was taking advantage of the situation.
I object, Your Honor.
It's in the picture.
It's argument.
Ladies and gentlemen, this case is not a game. It is my client's life. We don't play fast and loose with the facts, pretending Mr. Rosenbaum was Citizen A #1 guy. He was a bad man. He was there.
For those of y'all who just coming in, the closing arguments from the state were horrendous. It was filled with a bunch of lies. It was filled with a bunch of misinformation, half-truths. They basically was like, don't believe your lying eyes.
Put them on, in spite of what he might say today, is because he wanted you, now 18, soon to be 12 people, to say, gosh, that kid just went to that place and just protected it. He wasn't asked. He was asked. Mr. Kandiris asked Nick. Nick got a group of people to go down there. The people from West Bend came. Provocation, another thing. Think back on November 2nd, when this case started. Did you hear one word out of Mr. Binger's mouth about provocation? You didn't, because it was never said. But when his case explodes in his face, now he comes out with provocation. That was opening. And most importantly, in opening, quoting from Mr. Binger's first paragraph of his opening statement on November 2nd, 2021. This occurred after the defendant chased down Mr. Rosenbaum and confronted him while yielding an AR-14. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the videos. Mr. Rosenbaum sees, and I'll show you the video in my closing argument. You'll see Mr. Rosenbaum take off when he sees my client coming along with the Zeminskis to set up the ambush of my client. Provocation? I don't think so. The things that I just pointed out to you, why is that a problem? Because 1, he's lying. 2, he's misrepresenting. Or he wasn't prepared when he started this trial, and his closing argument has been a change to try and fit what has come out. Remember how when he was talking, there's no proof that the Rosenbaum and Zeminski knew each other. Maybe they did know each other that night, but they were together throughout the night. You see them together in pictures, wreaking havoc in this city. And now we have the magic pixel camera that brings forth his provocation. I'm going to go through the charges. We have the magic
We'll
pixel
talk about
camera
each one of them.
that
Then I'll
brings
go through the
forth
witnesses.
his
And hopefully I'll bring it
provocation.
home in an honest and forthright
I'm going to go through the
fashion.
charges. We have the magic
We'll
pixel
talk about
camera
each one of them.
that
Then I'll
brings
go through the
forth
witnesses.
his
And hopefully I'll bring it
provocation.
home in an honest and forthright
I'm going to go through the
fashion.
charges. We have
Bear with me,
one,
guys, because I'm
reckless
trying out some new
homicide.
software.
My client shot Joseph Rosenbaum. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, there was nothing reckless about my client's conduct that day in regards to Mr. Rosenbaum. Mr. Rosenbaum was coming at him. My client ran from him, retreated, which is not needed, continues to run. The plastic bag is thrown, the metallic plastic bag. Kyle doesn't know what it is at that time. It causes him to turn and look over his shoulder, pointing the gun in that direction. Mr. Rosenbaum, is he dissuaded by that? No, he is not. He continues running and advancing on my client. That whole time, the state doesn't say anything about Mr. Zeminski firing the shot. Mr. Zeminski having his gun up.
So what he talking about right now is when Rosenbaum was chasing Rittenhouse, this dude Zeminski is the one that fired those first two shots that you hear before Kyle shoots Rosenbaum.
Of 2020. He runs through that parking lot. He continues running on. He turns as he comes into that box canyon with the cars, the van, and I believe it's a Pepsi machine. And he turns because he has no place else to go. I'll show you the Zanin video later on. What's important about the Zanin video, you see that mob of people destroying the cars at Car Source 3, which Mr. Binger doesn't want my client to go and try to protect, even though he was asked by those individuals to protect that property. Nick Smith called him, hey, they're bashing up the cars and starting fires. Go down there. He goes down there. He has as much right to go there as anybody else in the city of Kenosha and be unmolested by the likes of Joseph Rosenbaum, Kelly, Josh.
I know, right? He fresh, right? That's the prosecution. I swear, for like the first hour of the whole trial, I thought I was listening to the defense. He might be the dumbest prosecutor I've ever heard in my life.
States of America, and he has the burden of proof. If he wants you guys to believe that my client pointed a gun at him, call the Zeminskis, put him on the witness stand, ask him questions, and let me or Mr. Sharafasi cross-examine him. That's how we do things in a court of law, but not in Mr. Binger's court. He says, I'm blaming the victim. As a defense lawyer, I might get accused of that more than some other people. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
I mean, in my opinion, they ain't victims. They was the aggressors the entire time. He retreated the entire time. It should have been open and shut case, in my opinion.
Take his.
Oh, here we go.
And Mr. Binger wants to make a big.
This stream's been horrible the whole time.
About the shot in the back. Remember his opening statement. He shot him in the back. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of the jury like this. Did he shoot him here? Did he shoot him there? Because of the way the bullet went in and where the bullet ended up in the hip, you know full well that the individual, and I asked the doctor, is on a horizontal plane. What is that horizontal plane consistent of? Somebody leaping, lunging at my client. And we know how close Mr. Rosenbaum was to my client. The furthest he could have been when it started, the first shot, 4 feet with the stifling. We know that his hand was on the gun. Mr. Binger wants you to believe that that was just happenstance and accident. Come on, people. Physical evidence does not lie. Use your common sense and good judgment. He talks about Mr. Rosenbaum just somehow ending up down at the riots.
Right.
Remember that? Mr. Rosenbaum, according to the testimony, walked from the bus center 4 miles out to Ms. Swartz's house, and then he couldn't stay there for some reason, and 4 miles all the way back. That's not just ending up. That's going someplace with a purpose, and throughout the night, you saw his purpose. And there was more than one piece of testimony about Mr. Rosenbaum, whether it was a hospital or whether it was a jail. Remember that?
So what he talking about is the night of all these events, the first dude that got shot, Rosenbaum, was just let out the nut house. On top of that, he was a 5-time convicted pedophile. I think he anally yammed some kid. You know what I mean? So he went down there because he had a restraining order against the chick house he was trying to go to that night.
Mr. Binger, the man with the burden of proof, Why didn't he bring in a hospital or a jail? to
Dylan, I
prove
know, right?
that Mr.
Every time I hear him talk, I think about
Rosenbaum was
Bobby's World.
properly
Remember Bobby's
medicated?
mother?
He'd been off his medications, according to Ms. Swart, for 7 to 10 days. We know that he was acting like somebody who wasn't on their proper medication. He was not acting normal. Next. Richard McGinnis. Reckless. And here, Mr. McGinnis, I'd
What's
like
up,
to
Daisy?
talk about, because the self-defense does not
What up,
hold
kid? Gravity.
to Mr. McGinnis, but if Kyle was privileged in exercising self-defense against Mr. Rosenbaum, it carries over to the endangering count of Mr. McGinnis. And Mr. McGinnis, specifically, if the defendant, and I'm reading directly from an instruction, page 9, second full paragraph, which you will be given, if the defendant was acting lawfully in self-defense, his conduct did not create an unreasonable risk to another. That is Mr. McGinnis. Ladies and gentlemen, when my client shot Joseph Rosenbaum, he feared for his life. He feared because of the prior threats, the prior statements, and the violent acts that had been witnessed by my client. Mr. McGinnis, as a witness, I think he
Yeah,
helped
I've been
us more
seeing
than he
that.
hurt us. He talked
I appreciate
about-
that, kid. Gravity.
This was on cross,
I think they
Mr.
was
Binger.
anybody using
How do
PBS
you
for some
know
reason. I only
Mr.
understand the PBS thing since that's
Rosenbaum
public
was thinking?
broadcasting.
Because
And I
don't,
think
but
anybody
know
using
he yelled,
Court
"Fuck
TV was
you,"
getting in trouble, but
and
for
then
some reason the
lunged
law and crime they ain't really
and
going
got
after him
ripped
for real.
loose. Why
But
is he
I'm gonna be
yelling
on the lookout for that.
the
I just gotta be
F
sure to talk over
One of
this a
two
little
things.
bit, just to kind of
One, to
beat the
intimidate,
algorithm or beat whatever
or
they're using
two,
to do what
he
they're
got
doing.
into a situation over his head, thinking, as he said before chasing him, "You won't do shit, MFer." To my, well, he was.
Not to mention, they got the video where this bald head white dude
states
talking about shoot
Kyle
me,
did
nigga.
not know
Shoot me,
Richard- that
nigga.
he was there, meaning
Around
Richard
all these
McGinnis.
black people, you feel
He's
me?
a citizen
He down there
journalist
for so-called
who
Black
was
Lives
running
Matter
along
protesters. He run around
holding
talking about shoot me, nigga.
his phone
You know what I
in his
mean? But
hand,
they
up
ain't
in the
never
air.
play that. Prosecution ain't never play that.
My client is not responsible for endangering him when he runs into danger. Plus, the instruction says that if he was privileged as to Rosenbaum, he's privileged as to count 2, Mr. McGinnis. Count 3, jump kick man. The uncomplaining, unidentified witness in count 3. There will be some video
That's the
later
nigga that he
on
shot at
going
and
through
missed.
Some of that. You'll see, and I ask you to pay attention.
I
The
mean,
statement said,
like, that's the
he's
fun.
not
Exactly,
taking-
Kid Gravity. BLM, they stay out here capping and caping for
when you
this white
watch the
boy.
video,
White boy
it'll be
run
in
around
slow
using that
motion.
N-word. They don't care.
Watch
You know
where
what I
his
mean?
foot goes.
Ridiculous.
Watch what happens to Kyle's head.
But that's the funny part. This dude kicked him in the head. Kyle shot at this nigga, and he missed him. He missed him twice. You know what I mean, he would have been if he would have connected or made shot. That'd have been probably the only black casualty that whole night.
hitting him in the neck.
But I tell you, yo, like I stand by what I said. I stand by what I said.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Just because he
what you see
may or may not have
throughout
supposed to have been
event number
there,
2,
just
and
because he
this
was
is the
only
beginning of it,
17, does not forfeit
is
his right to defend his life by any means
individuals
necessary.
working in a mob.
Period. Full stop.
They don't know
He was at no
what
point at
happened
all throughout that
at
night the
Car Source
aggressor.
3, event number
The 3
1.
people he shot
But
were the
somebody said,
aggressors.
hey, he shot somebody.
Period.
Doesn't know that he was being chased by a crazy person.
All the video the defense has
But they're
shows
gonna
that.
get
All of the video
their
that the
licks
prosecution
in
showed,
on Kyle
ironically,
Rittenhouse. Or,
proves that.
as they
This
perceive
case should have
him,
been over days ago.
somebody from the
This
other
case should have
side
never happened.
Who has been putting out their fires, causing problems for them, stopping them from wreaking havoc in Kenosha like they did
Hey,
the night before.
I don't blame you, Daisy. I agree. You touch kids, it should be lights out.
And ladies and gentlemen,
That's
the
just my
standard
opinion.
is likely to cause death or great bodily harm. Great bodily harm is defined as likely to cause serious bodily injury. A kick to the head is likely to cause a serious injury.
Period.
Did my client suffer a debilitating injury as a result of that? No, but that's not the standard. Mr. Huber, he's a rioter, pushing a dumpster lit on fire, going to the barricades to pick up pepper balls, throw them back, pointing his middle finger at the police. He's assisting Rosenbaum at the gas station, hits Rittenhouse 2 times with the skateboard.
See, a lot of people didn't know that either.
Disarm him.
He hit Rittenhouse
You'll see it
twice.
all in the slow motion video.
Once when he was running,
later on.
he cracked him in the neck. Second time was when he hit the
Kyle
ground.
Rittenhouse is running away from Anthony Huber. The state wants to call my client an active shooter. And the reason they want to do that is because of the loaded connotations of that word. Everyone has heard of the theater killings, the school shootings, and things like that. Ask yourself, the definition of an active shooter is somebody with a plan to inflict multiple casualties, usually out of anger or animus towards a group. This case, what caused Kyle Rittenhouse to shoot somebody? Joseph Rosenbaum. He runs after shooting Joseph Rosenbaum for almost 2 blocks before scene number 2. Mr. Binger makes a big thing about Kyle Rittenhouse not staying around Car Source 3 after the shooting. Ladies and gentlemen, if Kyle Rittenhouse had stayed at Car Source 3,
Kyle Rittenhouse,
all that would have happened is it would have made the police have an easier job because scene 1 and scene 2 would have been put in the same location.
correct.
My client ran 2 blocks without shooting at anyone, pointing at anyone, doing anything.
See, what they're not
to try
telling
and get
you,
away.
what they're not telling you is that
Tells the
after he shot
individuals
Rosenbaum,
he's
he
going to
did
the
circle
police,
around to
and
try
he's
to render some
running in that
aid.
direction when he stopped.
The dude McGinnis
He's
from the
hitting the
Daily
head with
Caller
a
was there
hand, rocking
also.
it, knocking his hat off.
I know, right? Yeah, I upgraded, yo.
Trying to steal
It's,
Mr. Rittenhouse's
yeah.
hat.
Anyway,
He was trying
So,
to take his head off.
he did
Who
try to come
comes
back
in
and render
next?
aid. He called somebody. I guess the dude
Anthony
Black
Huber for
said he
this
shot
first
somebody. He needed help for real.
Hits him.
But then you got the crowd
Opening statement,
yelling,
Mr.
"Yo,
Binger
get his ass, get his
was
ass,
the
kill
case
him!"
of
Blah 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 blah
swinging.
blah.
Now it's he blocked.
It'd have been dumb for him to sit around and wait.
Videotape.
You feel me? It'd have been
and
dumb
lighten
as
it up.
hell if he would have sat around there
Huber
and
strikes
he would
him
have
in the
waited
head
for whoever.
and arm the
He would
first
either A
time.
had to shoot more people,
Jump kick man.
or B he
comes
would have
in,
got killed
kicks him in the
himself.
face,
He did the
spins
right
his
thing by
body
retreating more.
180 degrees,
He ran
and
for the
Anthony
police
Huber
line.
comes
And we
in
know he ran for the police
second
line because
lick
Groskowitz
to the
said
shoulder neck
that he was
area,
running for the
trying
police
to
line.
take his head off.
Groskowitz's
And when he
video
does
that he
that,
was recording
his other
said that he
hand
was running for
goes
the
grabbing
police
for the
line.
gun, his bare hand onto the gun and pulling it away from Kyle Rittenhouse. Mr. Binger wants Kyle to sit there and hope and pray to God his strap
Yeah, I know
works,
Stacy, right?
And Anthony Huber
Like I said,
can't get the gun. We don't know that.
I feel
We'll
some
never
fuckery
know
afoot.
that,
You know what I
as he's
mean? I
running
don't know what's
away
going to
from
happen.
a shot as the gun is being separated from his body.
Yo,
You'll
what
see
up,
the butt
HJ?
way far
HJ
away
in the chat. You
when
know,
the
I
shot
had
is
to
finally
get some good
fired.
grifting off of this, my man. You know what I mean? I was off today, had to get a root canal for real. I'm feeling all right. I'm going to go ahead and do this before this pain kick in for real.
Even Gage Groskowitz said he was concerned about the blows that Jump Kick Man and Anthony Huber were inflicting on Kyle.
Look, understand this, people. You don't need a gun.
probably
You don't need a weapon to inflict
agree with.
great bodily harm or kill somebody. Simple as that. Could you imagine
Gage Groskowitz.
this whole ordeal played out and he did not have that gun?
The state must prove
This would have ended
beyond a
quick. We wouldn't
reasonable
have
doubt
this story. We
that
wouldn't
what
have this
Kyle
case
did
because they'd have
under
killed
those
Kyle in the
facts and
street.
circumstances
Let's just say he didn't
was
have that
unreasonable,
AR and he tried to
that he
go
was
put that
not
fire out at
entitled to
that
self-defense.
truck.
Consider all
And
the events that
Rosenbaum
had
caught
occurred
this
that
dude.
evening.
You feel me?
Him
And then
being
that crowd would have
attacked,
jumped on him. And he
kicked
had
in the
no
head,
way
hit
to
the head with a
defend himself. He
skateboard.
there by himself.
Other
Nobody there to help him. They'd have
individuals
killed
running
that
up
man
on
in that
him.
street.
And now
We'd have
Mr.
never heard
Groskowitz
Kyle
runs up
Rittenhouse's
on him.
name. We'd have never heard
And
of
the
Gage
first action
Groskowitz. We'd have
Mr.
never heard of
Groskowitz, I'll go through
Rosenbaum.
the
We'd have never
video
heard of
later,
Huber.
is
None of this
really-
would have been a
he's running
thing.
in, the hand is
You
coming
feel me?
up,
And all I'm
the
telling people is
gunshot
that, you know,
with humor
put your
goes
kids,
off.
put yourself
And the
in that
natural
situation,
reaction
yo.
is the
I don't
flinch.
care what nobody
He
say. I
covers
don't
up.
care if I'm not supposed to
And
be
then
there.
he
You know what I mean?
pulls
Like
his
in
hands
Maryland,
up.
for real,
And as he's
if I
standing
got
with
my
his
gun on
hands
me
up,
and I end up in
look,
like a protest zone, let's just say
he's
I
not
unintentionally
gripping
end
the
up in
gun
this
anymore
protest
in a
zone,
pistol grip.
and they start
Hands
bashing
apart.
in my
Hands
car,
up.
my car door,
And
my
as he
windows,
comes in
and I got my kids in the car. I'm by
finish the
myself. I don't care if I got
job,
my kids. I'm by
the
myself.
hand is on the gun.
Somebody gonna catch one.
going
I'm going
for
home.
Mr.
Simple as that.
Rittenhouse. And
Just because he wasn't
says it's
supposed
an
to be there,
involuntary movement.
just because he was underage,
the shot comes
does not
before it
forfeit
gets
his right to
directly his
self-defense.
head.
Simple as
But
that.
the motion
This should have been
is
an open
coming,
and shut case.
Shot, and it continues on with that momentum. Enough momentum to go through the bullet and point directly at Kyle's
I
head.
appreciate you,
Does Kyle
Richard.
fire again?
Appreciate that.
No, he doesn't. Actions likely to cause death or great bodily harm.
Hey, what's
And
up, Laura?
he
How you feeling?
is coming in with a loaded Glock. And we asked
I appreciate
Mr.
that.
Gage Groskowitz about it. He wouldn't even admit that there was one in the chamber. That's why we had to put on the officer to talk about the unfired shell casing. Lukowski talked about clearing the weapon and a live round coming out. Because Groskowitz won't say anything that puts him in a bad light.
And he's right about that. Groskowitz trying to make his own argument for defense because he wasn't supposed to have that gun. He didn't have a license, a valid license to have a gun down there. So he's trying to make the same argument the defense is trying to make for Kyle for himself, so he don't get in trouble.
Going down the street.
Two, if you watch the video,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Kyle
those are the
never tried to
charges.
recharge
Those are a
that AR.
synopsis of the
Groskwitz's
charges.
hands went up
As I
when
stated,
Kyle put that rifle up on him.
burden
When
is
his
on the
hands went up,
state,
Kyle
and they
went
must
low
prove
ready.
beyond a reasonable
And then
doubt
Groskowitz tried
my
to do some
client
Billy the Kid
does
shit,
not have the right
and he tried to get
to
the drop on
self-defense.
Kyle and try to
Kyle,
draw
as
that
he
gun
sits
down
here,
fast,
is presumed
and his ass was
innocent
just too
of
slow.
all charges.
Got his
If
bicep
there is
blown
any
off.
reasonable
That's what happened.
hypothesis
The video
to
shows it.
reconcile with Kyle's innocence, that is what you are to choose. Remember, when looking at the burden of proof, they have it. Think about some of the things: the shoddy investigation, the rush to judgment from the Kenosha District Attorney's Office, the Zeminskis not being called as witnesses. They have the burden of proof. We don't.
What up? What up? What up?
They want it to be that Kyle was out there doing something improper. Kyle was a 17-year-old kid out there trying to help this community. He was asked to provide help in protecting property at the car sources. It started, and he did it. He did provide aid, and he was asking if anybody needed aid. Whether somebody chooses to accept that aid, that's on them. But Mr. Binger wants to poo-poo his sincere belief that he's helping people because he borrowed bandages from Dominic Black. And
we know he was helping
I think he
rendering
might have
aid because of
borrowed something
McGinnis's
from
video.
Lukowski
He
also.
actually caught him in the act
But in
of
the
bandaging
picture,
somebody's leg. The person who leg he bandaged wasn't even on the right. They was a part of, I guess, if you lack a better term, they were part of Antifa. He still helped them out. Then we got other footage of him scrubbing off graffiti. And then a while back, probably like a year ago, Coleon Noir, he did a whole montage of what happened down there. And in his montage, he had video of Kyle running with the fire extinguisher to a literal dumpster fire. And that's what set all of this off. So if you don't really know what happened, basically what set all this shit in motion, Kyle ran with a fire extinguisher to put out a fire. After he put out the fire, whoever around him put out the fire, that's when the mob started getting upset about it. They started cussing, they started trying to fight, blah, 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 blah. Rosenbaum chased after Kyle at that point. While he was chasing after Kyle, 2 shots let off.
He does not turn around to address
I
that
thought
threat.
when I first heard it, I thought maybe Kyle had shot back or something like that, but turned out it
Takes
wasn't
a swing at
him.
him
Turned out it was
with
some
the
other
skateboard
dude that was a part of the mob
Kyle
that was
blocks,
trying to do what they
and
was
the
doing
skateboard's
down there.
knocked out of his hand. He doesn't turn around and shoot him.
Rosenbaum
He keeps
cornered Kyle,
running
went for his
and
gun. Kyle put
falls
4 on him.
from the 2 hits.
From there,
He's run
all
that
hell
far,
broke loose.
and yet somehow he just fell over on his own. As soon as he's on the ground, they're there, attacking him. And you see the people the law of self-defense. You've seen it. You've heard it. Now I'm going to go through the witnesses.
Now check it. In Kenosha, there is no duty to retreat.
Dominic Black.
But
first
Kyle
witness,
retreated every step of the way. When
charged by Mr.
Rosenbaum chased him,
Binger for
Kyle
providing
ran.
the gun to my
When the mob
client.
said get his ass,
2
Kyle
counts,
ran.
looking at up to 6 years in prison.
His back was
His case has
literally
been
against the ground
adjourned
at a point because somebody
so
hit him in the
that
head
he
with a
can
rock.
Help the state. I don't
Then
think
when
he
Jump
helped the
Kick
state
dude,
that
the black
much.
dude,
I think he was a pretty
kicked him in the
truthful witness,
face. He
all
shot
in all.
twice. I think that's the
He
only
told
time
him
Kyle
about
missed that
Kyle
night.
there to help
He
people,
shot twice and missed
that
him.
They had permission
Lord
from
must
the
have been looking out for
Candiaries,
yo.
That
Because
he saw Kyle
he knew that. His ass got up out of there.
help the woman with the
Then
foot.
the dude with the
help
skateboard,
the
Hubert,
person
comes
with the
across,
hand.
cracks him
Mr.
with the
Binger
skateboard
wants
for the
to
second time.
just say, oh, that doesn't matter.
Kyle tried to
If it
block it
wasn't
with his
Kyle, it would have
arm.
been somebody else.
The guy went for
point
his
is,
gun. He said
was
he felt
there,
his straps tightening
and
up.
he did
Kyle
it.
let a round off in his chest.
There was no
After
pointing
that,
by
Kyle sat up.
of any
He drew the
laser
gun on
sight.
Groskowitz because
There was
Groskowitz
no
was coming at him with a
ability
Glock
for
27.
Kyle
We noticed
or
because
him
Groskowitz said
to
he was coming
point
with a Glock
laser sights
27.
at anyone because their
You feel
guns
me?
didn't have the
When he
type
did
of
that, Kyle
optics
drew up on
that
him.
did that.
Groskowitz bitched up,
He said
put his
Kyle
hands up.
was there to help.
Kyle went low ready.
only person
Groskowitz thought he
helping
was fast enough to get
was
that gun
Kyle.
down and pop him.
And
But his ass
he
was
can
wrong.
say what he wants
Kyle drew
about
that gun
whether
up
or
and
not
blew
he'd
his
let
bicep
Kyle
off.
take the
After
gun
that, Kyle got up,
or
went
not
for the
take the
police
gun.
line.
He never told him not to. He went to the location with him. They bought straps at
What up,
Jelensky's
BMW
together.
man? What's going on?
He's trying to cover his butt a little
You
bit.
think so, yo? Kid
The
Grab,
guns
you think so?
were
You think
there,
they'll do a couple
and
years?
They took them. They took the guns.
You know
as
what?
He said,
I can't even.
to
I don't even know.
deter
I don't know if I can
people
argue with you about
attacking
that. I don't think he should do a couple of years. I don't think he should do any
Kyle at
time,
the end,
honestly.
sweating.
You know, especially since the judge threw out the gun charge.
Was in shock.
Yeah. By the way, earlier today, the judge
said
threw the gun charge out.
that he shot someone.
But
he had to do it.
I don't know, man. It's in
That
the
is
hands of the
Dominic
jury.
Black.
It depends on the mindset of this jury. It depends if they was
Corey Washington
susceptible to whatever the prosecution was
rioters
saying.
breaking
Anybody
up
with common
concrete
sense,
at the
when you're
church
hearing the
parking lot,
prosecution talking and then their video,
described
their own
Rosenbaum
video
as
is
erratic.
contradicting them,
stated the crowd was suspicious.
would just disregard the
know what that
prosecution. They can see
means.
through the facade.
One
But I
of the
don't
things
know,
that
man.
I thought was strange
You know what I mean?
was they were
Especially if
the
they
night
haven't been
before,
sequestered.
They were burning garbage trucks.
Especially
but they only
if they
burnt the old
ain't been sequestered or
I think
nothing
that
like
tells
that.
you something.
That's
about
gonna
his
be an
point of
issue.
view, that there's a certain amount
So,
of property damage.
It's going to be interesting.
that
Like I
is
said on Twitter
justified and
earlier today,
okay.
I think some fuckery afoot for real.
Kenosha was using
I
those
don't
garbage
know.
trucks that the
I don't know if he's
rioters
gonna get
lit on
away
fire.
scot free on this. I got a bad feeling. I'm hoping I'm wrong on it though.
Nothing regarding property destruction was going to do anything to help Jacob Blake. We also learned that Kyle Rittenhouse smokes cigarettes and that he has an affinity for the dinosaur museum.
What's up, Natasha? I mean, you
Detective
already know
Howard,
Natasha. Some people
ladies
think
and
they're
gentlemen,
invincible out here. He
Detective
already had
Howard's
mental problems. We
testimony
already
and
know that.
Detective
He was just let out the nut house the night before. And then all these other people just, you know, I don't know. They was out. They keep talking about he was out for destruction and all this other stuff. But these people that was attacking him was literally out there starting fires and running dumpsters in the buildings and all this other stuff.
The actions,
you know what I mean?
Mr. Rosenbaum.
Like I said, I don't think he should have been down there either.
Videos,
but neither should them
be
people.
more diametrically opposed.
You know what I mean? But they was down
Detective
there.
Howard
Some
on
shit happened, and here we are.
cross-examination Knew that the
I
guy
think
was
Kyle
hiding
was
in
right.
the car and
I
jumped
think
out from behind the car.
I think every shoot
and
he
began
made was
chasing Kyle
justified.
Rittenhouse.
That's just
Oh
me.
boy, that's not good for the state's case. So there's the old chit chat between Mr. Howard and Mr. Antaramian and the prosecutors after, and all of a sudden we've come up with the new theory. And you heard the new theory that he raised the gun, and that's what's on the video. Could I have the firearm, please?
What's up, everybody? Everybody just joining. My name is Hotep. I'm just reviewing. This is the closing arguments for the defense. I wasn't able to get the closing arguments for the prosecution. I had a little dental work done, so I wasn't here. But I figured I'd get this. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please like this channel. Let's beat that algorithm.
Check it again.
If you're not familiar with my content, after this, go back through, check it out.
Think about when Kyle Rittenhouse is firing the gun, when he's seen holding the gun throughout the events of the 25th.
Yo, who you telling, yo? Yo, they arguments was horrible, yo. Like I said, he was talking about, like, basically, like, don't believe your lying eyes.
Stance like this.
The video completely contradicted everything he was saying. He just hoping that, you know, they got that Jedi mind trick going for real.
Because that's not the way he was standing. If he's standing like this is right-handed, pointing the gun this way, up at the ready, his back would be to the drone footage. In the drone footage, you see the arm. It would be somebody having to hold the gun left-handed. This is a right-handed firearm. If this gun is brought up to his face and it is pulled back, the shell casing, hot, and the fire that ejects it is going to be going right into Kyle's face. The photograph I'll talk about later. You don't see the straps on his shirt. It didn't happen the way he said. It doesn't happen the way in the photograph. I'm going to need this again. But I'm going to set it now.
Yeah, he got a point on that. See, they were trying to argue that he pointed the gun at somebody prior to all of this happening, and there was some grainy ass pixelated picture that you couldn't really
Burden
make
of
out what
proof,
was what.
Once again,
You know what I mean? They just trying to, like I said, they're trying to pull Jedi mind tricks.
Search warrants, the subpoenaing of records. I have no problem
What up,
with
Chris?
that.
You're right.
It's good
The second
police
A
work.
is on trial right now.
When you pick
'Cause
and choose
at a
and you
deeper,
make
when you look at it at
favorites,
on a
it's
deeper
not.
level,
My client,
like I said, I
testified.
carry for a living. You know,
The-
not for a
I'll
living,
say
but
it
I
this way,
carry
the detective
to
testified
protect myself for what
that
I do for
my
a living.
client's phone
And could you
was sent to the
imagine if I had to
FBI.
take,
It
you know,
was
this something happens here
unsearchable
and
because of
it's
the
set
operating
precedent,
system.
and I got to go out
The
here and
FBI
I got to
federal
defend myself with
government
my
had not
firearm,
cracked it yet.
and then they try
found
to
out about
muddy
that.
the
We
waters
had
and say,
nothing to
well,
hide.
you
Here,
know,
here's the numbers.
he
Search the phone.
he
As long
brandished
as
the
we're
weapon
given
to warn the guy off,
simultaneous
and then he
copy.
shot him.
So we
He was the
have
aggressor.
what
Blah
you
blah blah
have.
blah blah.
We can have our
It can.
experts look
It's
at
going to
it.
be. It's going to
They
make a
can have
lot of
their
stuff.
experts
It's
look
going
at
to make a lot of
it.
stuff
So we know that there isn't
issues, especially in
anything added
these liberal
or
states
deleted.
who
We
don't
did
want,
that. We
you know,
gave that
carry
to the
permits.
state.
They don't want to be shout
We had
issue
something to
states.
hide.
You know, like Maryland's a
They never
mate
would've
issue
gotten
state.
that phone.
Only reason I got
They
mine
took
is
the
because
phone,
my family owned a
They made
business.
a copy.
That's
They
it.
searched it. Lo and behold, nothing of an incriminating nature in it. Nothing militia, white supremacist, any of that. Gage Grosskreutz, different story. They had a valid search warrant for it. The only search warrant that these guys have never not executed when it's sitting right in front of them. Not just that, but Mr. Grosskreutz could have consented to them going in the phone. If he has nothing to hide, why not? Why not let them look in the phone? And let's take common sense and judgment one step further. Police officers get search warrants. They execute the search warrant. Sometimes somebody feels as though their rights have been violated, and it gets litigated in a court of law.
I mean, of course, they're not
If it
going
was
to get a
illegal,
search warrant for
the
Gage's
information in
phone.
that search
You know,
warrant
it contradicts
never
their argument.
comes out
They
in
already
court.
didn't have a case.
If it's legal after a judge has
See, the
said
thing
there
is,
were no rights
nobody's
violated,
arguing the fact
it comes
that
in evidence.
nobody's debating if he
What
shot
was
these
Mr.
people.
Grosskreutz afraid
Nobody's
of?
debating that he was
Why
underage
wouldn't the
down there.
state
The only thing they're
execute the
debating
search
is
warrant,
whether this was self-defense
let
or
Mr.
not.
Grosskreutz
This is
and
what
his
this case is
attorney
about. This is not
object,
about the shirt
file
that he wore a
motion,
couple of
say, you
days
can't go in
after.
my phone.
This ain't about his
Let the judge
TikTok.
decide. Not the person
4 doors,
who's
more doors. That's
prosecuting
kind of dope, though. I ain't gonna lie about that.
protecting Mr.
You know, what I mean? But it's not about
Grosskreutz.
his
Come on,
TikTok
people.
page. I'm just trying to be famous. Everybody on TikTok trying to be famous. You feel me?
Mr.
Shit,
Grosskreutz has 10
it's
million
just what it
reasons
is. Every
for not
kid, every
wanting somebody
teenager on
to go in his
TikTok trying to
phone.
be famous, but they're trying to use it against them. You know what I mean? They trying to sway the court of public
timing
opinion.
With the detectives,
Like I said, I just hope
and
this
some of their
jury was
actions,
sequestered.
I think, are very important. They get down to Antioch at about 3:30 in the morning of the 26th, less than 4 hours after this happens. By 6 o'clock, 6:30, give them the benefit of the doubt, Kyle Rittenhouse is under arrest for first-degree murder. There's not been any autopsy done. There haven't been any witness statements taken. They've got 2 or 3 videos. The bullets, I should say it this way, all of the bullets have not even been picked up from car source at this point. But they're willing to make a decision. And were they under pressure? I'm sure they were. They're afraid that there's going to be another night of looting, destruction in Kenosha because of this happening and the way the word got out. He traveled across state lines. He was here. He brought his AR with him. The AR was here. He was a white supremacist looking for trouble. Nothing.
That's
Nothing.
another thing that bothers me. The whole
That's
travel
why,
across state
ladies and
lines
gentlemen,
thing is some bullshit.
picked you guys as jurors,
specifically in
we
this
asked
case
you if
as
you could
well,
decide
because
based upon the evidence.
so we got a spot
that
here called PG
happens
County here in
the
Maryland, right?
courtroom.
PG County,
Not
about 15 minutes from
what
DC.
you'd heard before.
You got a lot of these
not
dudes from PG
all of
County,
the
Maryland,
lies
claiming
and
DC.
untruths
You got
that
a
have
dudes from
been put
PG, a lot
out
of dudes
in
from
the
PG
media.
County that
I
work in
heard
DC. Hell, you got a lot of dudes from
one guy
Baltimore
say,
that work in
"My
DC.
client
A lot of
discharged
dudes spend a lot of
the
time in
gun 60
DC.
times."
So the thing
Ladies and
is,
gentlemen,
you know,
what's happening in
where he
court
lived at is
is what you
Antioch,
decide
Illinois. It was like
the
15-minute
truth on.
drive from Wisconsin, from Kenosha.
charged on the
you know what I mean? He said his
27th.
father lived in Kenosha. He worked
Still,
in
they
Kenosha.
didn't have
His
the
friends was in
information,
Kenosha.
the autopsy
So as far as he
final,
was
anything
concerned,
like that.
he
Ladies and
lived
gentlemen,
there. That's how he
this
felt.
has been a
You
rush
feel me?
to judgment.
And that's and that, but they trying to use that against him. He crossed state lines.
Richie
yeah, he did it every day
McGinnis,
for
I
work.
talked about
Then they
earlier.
said he brought the
Citizen
AR.
journalist.
The AR was
Mr.
already
Binger
here.
talked about him seeing guns.
They threw out the gun charge.
Remember,
If they threw
the
that gun
cross of
charge
Mr.
out
McGinnis,
and the gun was
guns are not
in the
legal in
dude
Portland,
Black's
Washington,
custody, I mean,
or
Black
DC or
never
New York.
technically made a
They're
straw
not allowed
purchase.
on the streets. You can be arrested. There are state laws. And ladies and gentlemen, the gun
I know, right?
in this case
I know, right? Now all of a sudden they believe
is
in
no
borders,
longer
right?
an issue. Whether or not it was a dangerous weapon as it applies to the charges is. But my client is no longer charged with minor in possession of a firearm. But he needs his AR-15 and the assault weapon and the fear that goes with that to try and bring home an unjust guilty verdict.
You know what I mean?
Ryan Balch.
They ain't never bring none of that up though.
Ryan Balch
They never brought their
had
records
never
up.
met Kyle Rittenhouse before the evening hours of the 25th, has never spoken to him or known him after. And yet the state wants you to believe he made up something about a threat to kill. Why? What's in it for him? The threat. If I get either of you alone, I will kill you. That is a threat with a statement and a promise. And lo and behold, the chance presented itself to Mr. Rosenbaum, and he attempted to execute it. And I don't, for a minute,
I mean, if you really want to
believe
call it a spade,
that he would have
Rosenbaum
done
was
it
being a bully that night.
if it
He
was
didn't think he had
Mr.
the balls to
Balch,
do
who's
it.
much bigger
He
than
chased
my
him down. He
client,
thought he was going to bully him, beat him up, and take his
well-built,
gun, and he was wrong. That's just my
and
opinion on that. Though.
much more assertive and forceful. Rosenbaum, like any, as he referred to him, I don't even know what he called him, a ragdoll, whatever, but the little guy who gets beat up likes to go after
right,
the
yeah.
next littlest guy. He saw Kyle alone,
Little Napoleon
and that's what he chose
complex.
to. Or he could have been mistaken and thinking it was the other person at the ultimate that he went after and had to be held back. They were dressed very similarly, baseball caps, mask, and the only difference was the difference between shorts and a long pants. I can't answer that. Mr. Rosenbaum at this point, I guess, can't either. But you see Mr. Rosenbaum right around the time in question at that location, menacing with his chain. I'm going to finally get this right. I skipped. That's Mr. Balch. I talked about him going on. Ms. Amber Rasmussen, she was the DNA expert. What I say to you is DNA is an incredibly
I swear, some of these
useful
names, you
tool.
sound like some redacted
But
shit.
DNA is
like
only as
Rasmussen. Ain't that the people that do the
useful as
polls?
what you put into it.
You know what I mean?
And
That's just, you know.
if DNA shows anything, it shows that it's not proof positive in this case. We know, in hearing from Dr. Kelly, that he most probably touched the gun. It was a contact wound, is the way he described it. And we know through the videos, Huber touched the gun with his bare hand, and yet no DNA was found on that gun. So don't let your eyes deceive you. Don't let the physical evidence be discounted because of what she said. The end of that barrel was not swabbed.
It couldn't have been swabbed. Yo, if y'all ever shot a gun and touched the barrel, it's hot as fuck.
At the end
So you
of the
told me he let off 4 shots,
or
was
it would
running.
have had soot
You know what I mean?
on all of
That
the
barrel
fingers.
was hot.
Jason
Ain't no way they
Lukowski
touched. You know what I mean? Like they
thought
no
was
way
an
they swabbed
interesting
that
witness.
barrel and found DNA evidence
He
or
was
not.
the Marine
Because if he
who
would have touched the
put
barrel,
phrase,
he'd have burnt shit out
shout,
themselves.
shove, show, shoot. And I asked him about that, and I don't for a minute disbelieve that that's the Marines' rule. Is there any retreat in there? And he said no. He looked at me like I was stupid. The reason he looked like that was because they don't retreat. Yet Kyle Rittenhouse did retreat.
Kyle ain't no Marine
he tried
either.
getting away from Mr. Rosenbaum. He described
He did what he was supposed
Joseph
to do. He did
Rosenbaum
right. Every step of the way, he
as
retreated. What you supposed to do?
belligerent, with malintent, used the N-word, did the false step thing, did not see Kyle as aggressive.
He saw Kyle as
He
somebody he
was
could
there
push
for a
around and
shorter
bully.
period of time than anyone else at Car Source.
You saw Kyle was young and wet behind the
He
ears, and he
also
was trying to
cleared
go for him.
Gage Grosquist's gun after the shooting and made it safe, took
Just
the
like a
shell
pedo would.
out of it. And I ask you to think back to the direct examination of Mr. Lukowski by the state. When they asked him,
Yo,
what did
exactly,
Kyle say
yo.
to
You know what I mean? That is a special
His
kind of
first
dumb.
statement was, I just shot somebody, I need help. That's what he testified to. And then Mr. Binger shows him the statement and gets him to say, well, I told the FBI that. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what he told the FBI. The FBI doesn't let him see that statement, doesn't let him read the statement and say, you've read this to me, it's true in a correct copy. They write down what they think they heard. I ask you to think about what
Did anybody
he
else
said.
find it suspicious that the
If he
FBI had drone
didn't
footage
shoot
that night?
somebody, why does he need help? That makes no sense. He said it, he testified to it. That's what happened. The state confronted him and pushes him back to his original statement so he doesn't get in trouble. He put the tourniquet on Gage Grosquist.
You know what I mean, Chris?
He testified that he had his AR-15 with him, providing medical services, first aid, just like Kyle Rittenhouse. And I find it so ironic that
If y'all can find it, go back and watch the dude McGinnis. Was it
there.
Richie McGinnis? Go back and watch his video
Gage Grosquist had
on,
said to them,
on
go home,
Rittenhouse.
we have our own
I want to say
medics,
Coley
you
on the Wall
stooges,
got it up on his
and
channel
who
somewhere.
ultimately
Look back
helps
around this time last year.
him with his tourniquet.
Go check it out. You know what I mean? He actually sat
Hughes,
there and he actually sat there and
testimony,
he explained what he was
she
down
reminded
there. McGinnis
Huber's
actually got footage of him
girlfriend
actually
they
rendering
need to be
aid.
home by curfew.
He asked him why he had the AR. He said just in case, for lack of a better
Obviously,
term, he said just in
not
case some shit gets
advice that was
spicy down
followed.
here. Just in case.
Wish it had
Shit,
been.
I carry my gun everywhere, yo. Just in case some
Carrie Ann
shit gets
Swartz,
spicy.
I
Simple as
talked
that. I ain't
about-
looking for a fight.
She
But
talked
y'all ain't about to take me.
Joseph Rosenbaum, Joseph
what I mean?
Rosenbaum being bipolar, being prescribed gabapentin. He had to leave her house that night
did you
after
talk about,
walking
B?
4 miles,
Matt Damon did
taking
it.
about an hour, and then walking another 4 miles back to downtown where the riots were going on, where he could involve himself fully. Her story contradicts Nathan DeBrune. I just got out when he said, I just got out of jail and I'm not afraid to go back. He'd been off his meds for the week prior.
Got you.
The videos of Joseph Rosenbaum show the state that he was in. No proof that he ever took his meds.
That sound better?
Saul Kindiri He was the first of the Kandari brothers to testify. Car source. He's in the picture with all the people who protected his property. He's there, and he said he just liked the military garb. Why did he?
Hey, Jono, let me know if that's better.
How did he wrangle all these people up? Everybody in that picture said that they wanted.
Oh, all right, I got you, B.
They gave him permission.
Oh, what happened?
Witness.
There we go. Yo, this
But as I said
streaming,
earlier,
cutting in and out all
They
day
want
though.
these two guys to dirty Kyle up. He's just picking a spot to pick trouble and to be there and cause problems. He was asked to provide security. He did. They deny that they were going to pay any money, yet Nick Smith says they were. And going to pay money to Nick Smith. And ladies and gentlemen, do you get the feeling that they're a little afraid of being sued, as everybody else in this case is? I think so. And when they were up there, I don't remember them saying, oh, you can protect car source 2 or car doctor, but don't go to car 3. They had somebody arranged to protect car source 3, and the word came in that they had left. Dominic, Balch, Joanne Fielder, all of them say they had permission. Why would they lie about that? How does that protect them? They're not charged with anything. Who's the people who are lying here?
Hey, we all know it's the thirst quencher. I can use a Gatorade right now, I'll tell you that much.
And Sam. Next, Police Officer Widener. He was the ET. He went and recovered some of the 2-3 rounds from car source. I believe he found 3 of them. The other 2 were found 3 days later. He photographed a mask. He didn't find the bag, and we do not concede that there was nothing in that bag. Not for a minute.
And they shouldn't.
They
shouldn't. If it was nothing in that bag wouldn't have flew the way it flew.
Preserve a crime scene.
Simple as that.
Get the evidence and show it to you.
That bag sure went a distance for it not to be nothing in it.
They didn't find the fire extinguisher. We know that the fire extinguisher was there. It's in the videos. But that doesn't fit in the state's narrative of Kyle.
But that's another thing where the state contradicted themselves. First, they said the fire extinguisher wasn't there, but then in the closing arguments, he said he set the fire extinguisher down. Saying you can see it in the video. Even though in the video they showed you couldn't see shit. You couldn't see nothing. You didn't even know who was who.
Strike that.
Come on, get y'all shit together, yo.
I love technology. Officer Van Wee. Officer Moretti. He was the driver of the squad car that Kyle tried to surrender himself to. He said it was a war zone. It was a war zone those 3 nights. He described it as
The defense
city
called it a war
on
zone.
fire. The police felt as though they were completely surrounded.
That's because the police was completely surrounded. The fire department didn't even show up the night before. You want to blame somebody for what happened down there? Blame the mayor. Blame the city. They told the police to stand back. They wouldn't let the fire departments in there. Shit was burning to the ground. People were getting injured. So the community had a response. That's what happened.
Now they could leave. Car source was safe. And I can't remember specifically what witness it was, but it stuck out in my mind. The witness said the police pushed him back, let him back, pushed him back, let him back. And a lot of the burning happened late at night, that witness said. Gage Groskowitz. 10 million reasons to change his statement. His attorney is sitting in the courtroom, has been sitting in the courtroom when he testified. If he's just your average complaining witness, why
They also complained about Kyle not having an EMT license. This nigga ain't have an EMT license either.
He wasn't charged.
He ain't have a carry permit. He said the shit was they said it was expired. He told the police he didn't have a gun when he did. He even testified that he didn't have a gun at first.
Most people, when you lie to the cops, especially in a murder investigation, you get in a little bit of trouble. I've represented some of those people. Not Mr. Groskowitz, because he's their star witness. But paid for, and protected. You don't want us to search your phone? Oh, we're going to invoke the never heard before Marcy's Law exception to the search warrant, even though they had a signed search warrant by a judge of Kenosha County. He was also an armed medic. Wants you to believe that he didn't have one in the chamber, and he would never
Like I said,
shoot
yo,
somebody.
whether you had an
But before he
AR-15
said
or a
that,
muzzle
he
loader,
said,
a bullet's a
"Key,
bullet.
wallet, phone."
Honestly, I think he would have been a lot faster with a handgun.
Never
Like I
leaves
said
home alone.
before,
Ladies and gentlemen,
instead of wielding that big ass
I don't care if you
AR-15
see a
around.
weapon.
But I
And
don't
don't
blame him
think
from going down there
I
being
could shoot
prepared.
somebody.
Like I said,
People carry guns.
if he didn't have that gun, he'd have
That's
got
what this
killed.
war in
Simple
the
as
city.
that.
This isn't the wild, wild west. He had his gun. Kyle Rittenhouse had run by him. You'll see the picture. Was by him, gone. Did he go to give medical help? He didn't know that Mr. Rosenbaum was being tended to. No, he decided to run in and advance on the fray. He, the member, affiliated with the American People's Revolution here in Wisconsin. And I might have that one word wrong, but he did it. And who ultimately put the tourniquet and fixed it on his arm? But Mr. Lukowski, a member of somebody he refers to as the militia and the Stooges.
You already know Natasha. We'd have never heard his name. We never knew none of this. You know what I mean?
The first one, he does not show or give any indication of a weapon. My client does not point a weapon at him, does not shoot at him, does not swipe the weapon towards him. He states he's going to the police. That is uncontradicted. Why doesn't Mr. Groskowitz let him be and go give?
And that's the thing I didn't understand. So during the
but instead he joins
the testimony of Groskowitz, he said he chased after Kyle. He called him and said, "Yo, you shot somebody? You shot somebody?" He said, "I'm going to the police. I didn't." It sounded like he said, "I didn't do anything wrong." That's what it sounded like in that second point. But after that, Groskowitz ain't tried to do nothing. He tried to tackle him. He tried to take his gun. He ran the other way, but then decided to turn around, pull his gun, and then run after him.
Facebook post.
I guess he thought he was going to be a Facebook hero or something. I don't know.
Into the kid. So we know what his intent was. We know what he wanted to do. Kyle shot first as he was coming in. And Mr. Binger talks about, oh, he was going to grab the gun. Ladies and gentlemen, left hand, phone. How's he going to grab a gun with a hand filled with a phone? Right hand, gun. He goes back, loads up, and is advancing. That's when Kyle shoots him. He didn't shoot him when he put his hands up. And if that was it, no intent
Like I said,
to harm him, all he does, like everybody else, is back up, and nobody else gets shot.
he thought he could get the drop on. He thought he could be quicker on the draw.
He's going to shoot my client. Unfortunately, my client shot him first. If he had retreated, it's over. And when he's got his hand up like this, as I said earlier, the hands are up. It's not gripping the gun. It's loose. But when he goes in like this, the pistol grip is tight. Heather Williams, Crime Lab. She testified.
I mean, I seen some other YouTubers and some other lawyers kind of put that if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit. That's kind of what that is.
Pepper sprayed. Did not get his ID. Didn't ask him about the gun. Just told him to go home. Kristen Harris, Rundown Live, stated.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, man.
We showed the video to start this, clearly depicting Mr. Rosenbaum standing there at Car Source 2.
That looked like Rosenbaum. Shit.
Standing there with his chain, the shirt tied up over his head. But Mr. Binger says it's impossible for him to have threatened my client. That's garbage, just like his case.
Rosenbaum put that shirt over his head like that because he planned on doing some shit with some ill intent to it. And he didn't want to get found out. That's what that was. Simple as that.
In downtown Kenosha as anyone else. just as the rioters did, and as he walks out to see if anybody wants medical help, he's not doing anything wrong. He's not doing anything to provoke anybody. Detective Antaramian, the juxtaposition of him and Howard, as I said, he is the one who talks about what he sees in the video, totally different. As you see, why did Mr. Rosenbaum go behind that car, 2 cars over from the Zeminski?
But you know what, Brian, yo, I remember Uncle Hotep, and we both were saying that, like, yo, the way he was pulling off them shots, that was some treadstone shit. I kind of stand by that, though. That was some straight treadstone shit. He only hit who he was aiming at. In a high-stress situation like that, after being struck in the head a couple of times, he still only hit who was attacking him. Simple as that.
James Armstrong. The only thing I can say about James Armstrong is,
and also the biggest disservice to this whole trial is the mainstream media. You know, even after, you know, seeing the facts of the case, they still caping for the prosecution. They still caping for these three dudes that Rittenhouse shot. They're still trying to make them look like heroes. Like I said, they swear in the court of public opinion, and I hope that their jury is sequestered, because we know it wasn't sequestered in the Chauvin trial. You know what I mean? And I hope that, you know, Mad Maxine and old Joe Nichols Slick don't start running their mouth while, you know, the jury's in deliberation. Because we saw how that went last time. You know, then you had the dude, I'm not sure, I think somebody said it might have been the dude that got shot in Kenosha, whatever his name is. Somebody that belonged to his household or whatever came down to try to take pictures of the jury members, and they had to shut that shit down real quick.
How would pointing a gun at Mr. Zeminski provoke Joseph Rosenbaum?
I don't think $1,200 of Call of Duty will still give you that whole real life scenario shit, B.
But I think they had to run away from that because there's so many pictures of them together. Mr. Armstrong's photograph, testimony.
Don't you know?
It took 3 days and
after this, we're gonna have a cola
worth of work to come up with that picture. It went from color to black and white, and he admitted he never compared it to the original photograph. Still shot. Didn't take into consideration the fact that the drone was moving. The word peer-reviewed, state has said. Peer-reviewed is an independent verification.
You right, Cam, yo? Salute, yo. What's up, Cam? Cassius Cam in the chat. You right, yo.
So
you right. This I think it was
that Mr. Armstrong's coworker did 20 hours.
I think it was Grant in the chat early basically was saying the same thing. You know what I mean? You know, this is basically the Second Amendment on trial right now. This is going to set precedent for stuff the way it goes. If I got a gun and I can't defend myself with my gun, or defend my life with my gun, and I'm going to be on trial for it, you know what I mean? That's going to set a precedent around the world. That's Chris Gent. Chris Gent made that point. You know, that's going to be huge, man. There's no duty to retreat in Wisconsin. He still retreated every step of the way.
Personally,
if he really wanted to do some ill shit, he'd have did that shit as soon as he got there. You know, why do some upstanding shit before you start doing some fucked up shit? Like I said, if he's up to no good and has some ill intent, he'd have did that shit when he got there.
On redirect, after I had him do the demonstration and draw on the photograph, the state tried to get him to back up his opinion, back it off. He wouldn't, because the physical evidence doesn't lie. It's, as they say in the business, an inconvenient truth. They can't change it. It is what it is. That's the demonstration that happened in front of you, the gun and the hand. And if the individual's coming straight at it, the barrel of the gun, it would go through the hand like this. But we know that it was coming from right here, going down, and came out with a very clean exit wound. No soot here at all. So we know that the gun can't be here.
Right.
We know there's just a little bit of soot on what's commonly referred to as the ring finger right here, and the bulk of it goes this way because it was over the gun, touching the gun.
Right.
And
I agree with that.
Mr. Bigger says he was swiping at the gun. Ladies and gentlemen, he didn't need to chase him, didn't need to keep chasing him, didn't need to lunge at him, didn't need to swipe at the gun, i.e. grab the gun.
Exactly. I mean, that's the rules that gun owners got to follow. So, for example, if I catch a dude trying to sexually assault a woman or try to do something, and I catch him in the act, and I say, hey, or whatever, and I draw my gun, and he starts running, I can't chase him because at that point, I'm the aggressor.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I got to let him go.
Other people in this
Like he said, Rosenbaum didn't have to chase him and chase him and chase him and provoke him and provoke him and provoke him until that happened.
4 times in 3/4 of a second.
He was a threat.
To protect his life from Mr. Rosenbaum. I'm sorry, but that's what happened. And this is the prosecutor who said he shot him in the back. He shot him in the back on a horizontal plane consistent with lunging. The shot goes in here and ended up in his lower hip across the back. If he's on the ground or down and shot, the bullet goes into the back and ends up in the stomach or on the other side. It cleared back here, ended up in the lower hip. That's because he was on a horizontal plane when Kyle shot him. He had stippling to the stomach from the first. The pants stopped it from lower, but it was still on the upper. The furthest he was away when the
I guess
first
he
shot was fired
I guess it's whoever aggressed the fight
4
first.
feet.
I don't know. That's a good question.
4 feet. I think it was Mr. Krause and I who had to fight about how far 4 feet is.
Exactly.
It's not
Yep.
that far.
The non-aggressor gets to defend himself, like I just said. It depends on who the aggressor is. You know what I mean? Simple as that.
I brought a tape measure so I could measure a gun barrel for you today, but that's no longer an issue. So I'll show you what 4 feet is.
Oh yeah. By the way, they tried to keep the gun charge. The prosecutors tried to keep the gun charge, trying to claim that the gun was less than 26 and a half inches, I think it has to be, or 29 inches. And then come to find out, when the judge asked to measure it, they was like, there's no need to measure it. We know that it's 20. So it's like, well, why'd you want to keep the gun charge if you know the gun was legal? That's another thing they'll tell you, is that he had a right to have that AR down there. That's why they got rid of that gun charge.
Was Joseph Rosenbaum doing?
What's up, Joe? Happy you can join the chat, sir.
Was he running after my client to give him a key to the city of Kenosha? Was he running after my client to say, hey, thanks for providing security? Use your common sense and your judgment. Look at Mr. Rosenbaum's behavior throughout the night. As I showed you, these are the pictures. One last.
Got that right. Got that right.
So, right here. Here's entry. The exit's right over here. Goes across, clean, came out right there. This right here, nothing. Nothing on the back part of the
Yeah, bear with me, guys. This is my first time having all this chat stream and all this other stuff in here, so I'm still getting used to it.
Asking the doctor, well, what about that big puff of smoke? That wouldn't have an effect. Soot only goes so far. That was Dr. Kelly's testimony. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. He looks at the bodies, says what they are, makes a determination, and looks at the evidence. We had an expert, didn't call him because Dr. Kelly told the truth.
Right.
Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
It wasn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And that was the
facts
prosecution's
and truth
witness.
matter. In most trials, the case would have ended with Dr. Kelly.
Exactly.
But we wanted
right.
to bring you our side of the story. We had nothing to hide. We were going to put on a defense. I heard Mr. Binger say red herring. The red herrings in this case are by the state, talking about
From day
super
one.
bullets,
From day one.
this metal jacket. I've been involved in homicide cases. One time it's
They
a metal
made full
jacket.
metal
The
jackets
next
sound
time the
like
problem is the person in hollow
steel
points-
ammo.
hollow points
They
of
made
the
full
sign
metal
to kill.
jackets sound
The
like
metal jackets that
armor
go
piercing
through.
ammo.
Ladies
That's the
and
thing that was
gentlemen,
getting me.
Bullets are bullets. Hate to tell you. At close range and close contact, they wreak havoc on a body and they kill people. No dispute. Wants to keep pointing at the militia, the militia, the militia. He knows Kyle's not a member of the militia. He has no evidence that he is. They went to the websites. They went to TikTok. They went all of that. All they can do is put up a little thing of a 17-year-old kid from his TikTok trying to be famous.
4 doors, more whores, baby.
Kyle shot.
Matter of fact,
Joseph
somebody need to make a
Rosenbaum
t-shirt. 4
to
doors, more
stop a
whores.
threat to his person. And I'm glad he shot him, because if Joseph Rosenbaum had got that gun, I don't for a minute believe he wouldn't have used it against somebody else. He was irrational and crazy. Talked about active shooter.
Same here, Cam.
The power of
I ain't
those
looking for a
words.
fight.
My
I
client
carry
didn't
it so I
shoot.
can come home. And they don't even guarantee that I'm going to come
Until he
home.
was chased.
It just give me a fighting chance. Especially here in Baltimore where we got 350 plus
Nick
murders
Smith.
every year.
Got a phone call
In
from
a city that
Sam.
only got 300,000 people.
Asked on the second night of riding to go down there. They used the power washer and buckets to try and put out cars. He did that out of the goodness of his heart. Sam asked him to come and protect the next night and be paid. And he agreed to do it.
The funny part is everybody keep trying to point to white supremacy, and if this was a black kid, a white kid that shot only white people, this is a white supremacy issue.
Kyle, Dominic Black, talked about another father and a son.
But they don't want to bring
And then the
up
people
Rosenbaum,
from West Bend
talk about shoot me, nigga.
showed up.
Shoot me. See, context means a lot.
He said that when they
You know what I
first
mean?
saw Sam,
Like Bill Burr say, you
25th,
feel me? Like Bill Burr said, he
Sam
said
gave
it's
him a
different.
hug and
You know, tones is
thanked
different
him
when you're reading text messages.
protecting his property. He was on the roof when it was chemical bomb. He knew that Sam
Yeah.
was grateful for their presence.
How
But he
about
also knew
how about
that
no
people
universal
around
background checks?
needed weapons.
CCWs all around.
Kyle, when Kyle
You know what I
came
mean?
back,
But you're right
saying,
though.
I had to shoot.
You know, if you want universal background checks, then I want CCW for every state.
Body armor.
Right now, I can carry in about
I don't
35.
know why the Grays Lake Cadet Program gives people body armor. Don't know. My client had it, and if he wanted
I
to
got
be an
body
active
armor.
shooter, as Mr.
It's not
Bringer
illegal
wants
to have.
portray him, why would he give up his body armor?
That's ridiculous. It's not
Smith
illegal to
wanted body
have.
armor.
Body armor is not
Mr.
illegal to
Nick, here's
have.
mine. I'm
I
gonna
carry
be
a
doing
vest in
that.
my truck.
Helping
I got
other
plates
people.
in the vet. I got
You
plates
see
in
him
my
do it throughout.
I got a plate
He
carrier in
gave
my
Nick
fucking
his body armor.
in my closet.
Why would somebody give up their body
I got a
armor
gun
if they're
belt.
gonna go out
None of that
looking
stuff
for
is illegal to
trouble,
have
seeking
for law-abiding
confrontation?
citizens.
Doesn't make sense. Joanne Fielder,
They're counting on the jury
She
to be
described
ignorant to the
Joseph
facts.
Rosenbaum, wearing a red shirt with a green earring.
I'm right there with you, yo.
She described yellow pants, who I'll get to later. She stated Joseph Rosenbaum yelled he was going to kill us MFers and cut their hearts out. JR's arm goes up, and within seconds, they're tearing up from a gas bomb. She couldn't say for sure that she saw him throw it, but obviously that's the circumstantial evidence.
I mean,
of
it's a
her belief.
possibility that somebody gave it to him.
She never saw Kyle act inappropriately with anybody, point a weapon at anybody. The size of the weapon might change, but it doesn't change what it can do. Presence speaks volume. It's a deterrent, and they've been pelted all night long with rocks. She was aware that they had consent to be where they are. Nathan DeBruyne. Interesting witness.
This dude said that the prosecution tried to get him to change his statement.
Was
On the
out
witness
there
stand, he told that.
taking photographs on the nights in question, more importantly, the 25th. He filmed the destruction of this community, uptown, downtown. And the ATF and the FBI found out about his videos, his still photography, which I think was incredible. They wanted it. And what did he do? Didn't ask for money. He gave it to him. He sat down with the detective and gave a full interview, showed him the photographs, talked about Mr. Rosenbaum and all the problems he was causing that night, the things he was doing. And that's within less than a month after this.
I completely agree with
He
that,
never
Cam.
met Kyle Rittenhouse.
Like I
Didn't know
said,
Kyle
you touch
Rittenhouse.
kids, it should be
But he
lights out.
had a feeling about what happened that night. And he said if there was trouble, Mr. Rosenbaum was there. I don't think any truer words have ever been repeated. Did he have a lawyer when he met with Detective Howard? No, he didn't. When did he get a lawyer? Remember? After he met with Mr. Kraus and Mr. Binger. Mr. Binger, the person who's made it his
They tried to get him to change his
personal
statement.
goal of putting my client's head on his wall. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it did. And it means he's been cutting corners.
Yo, why Binger look like
Nathan
Littlefinger
DeBrune
off
said,
Game of Thrones? Is it
after
just
meeting
me?
with Mr. Binger, I was very uncomfortable. He tried to put words in my mouth. And he had to go and hire a lawyer to protect him. First, it was show him the videos and then ask him the questions, trying to put words in his mouth. He didn't want that to happen. He wanted to be able to tell his story of what he knew, what he did. He talked about Zeminski, the photographs of all the conduct that Zeminski had done that night.
Yo, like
And I'll
the
show you
prosecutors,
some.
yo, they're snakes.
Photos have a
They were
timestamp
snakes.
on them. And
This case should have been over a long time ago, but they want to make names for themselves. They want to make names for themselves.
2020.
And
about
they
Joseph
figured this was a slam
yelling,
dunk.
I just got out of jail and I'm not afraid to go back. Those are his words that he heard Mr. Rosenbaum. It was not objected
I mean,
to by
it's
the
just
state.
snakes, man.
And there has been no proof that he wasn't in a jail. They want you to believe he was in a hospital. There's no medical records he was in a hospital. There's no medical records he was properly medicated. And I submit to you that in this case, the way he was behaving, I don't think he was properly medicated. There's pictures of him with the trailer fires, the chains, starting numerous dumpster fires. I submit that he was with the Zeminskis on many of the occasions, and he was.
The funny part is, like you said, the evidence of
because
absence of
Mr.
evidence is not the
Zeminski
evidence of absence.
was always
You know what I
brandishing his
mean? But they
firearm.
keep trying to do that. They keep trying to say, well,
saw
there's no
Joseph
video showing that
Rosenbaum
Kyle was
taking the
helping
chains.
people. Oh, but
He
there was no
chose
footage
to come down
of
and
Rosenbaum
riot,
saying
and
these
that's what he
things.
did.
And it's like,
Nathan
which one
DeBrune
is it? You got to keep the same energy with both of them.
Why did he chronicle it? Because it's not very interesting if you take a picture of a protester who's just standing there. But Mr. Rosenbaum was involved.
Yeah, I
in
seen
all these
that.
different
I
things.
seen that. I was,
And I'll show
I
you those
cringed. You know what I mean? I was watching from my phone and I cringed for
Lucas
them. Like
Zanin,
Jesus.
Kenosha
Like
County
he didn't
resident.
clear it. He
Every
ain't
now
pull
and
a
again
he ain't pull a
goes out to
charger
Texas
handle
in the
back to
winter.
make sure. None of that. They ain't even got. They
Testified,
don't even got a flag in the
born and
chamber.
raised,
They only got a chamber flag.
Stated he had
Like
empathy
they keep
for
checking it. Like
small
yo, put a fucking
businesses in
chamber flag in the
Kenosha.
gun.
Did not want them looted.
But that shit was cringy
did
as
not
fuck.
want them burned.
He had his finger on the trigger. You were
Is that
100%
somehow
right,
to be
Richard.
called into
That
question?
shit was sketchy.
Does any of us want those fires started and to come and burn? I don't think so. He authenticated the video that was taken from his car as accurate, showing the south side of car source 3. And you
Man,
watch
Twitter
that
just been
video,
ridiculous, yo.
and you
It's
see
so much on there. It's
people
just people just repeating the stuff that they hearing. People just
destroying
repeating what they hear on the
someone
news because the news ain't being
else's
honest about it. They trying to
During
do
the
all this
video,
damage control because they've
look
been
at the
wrong
wall,
from day
there's
one.
nothing there. You see somebody
And now you got
spray
all this
painting on
evidence
it.
and this footage coming out. Now they trying to backtrack a lot of stuff, but at the same
You see
time
another
trying to save
individual
face.
going in
It's
the hood of the
ridiculous.
car, trying to do something. It's not his car. He's not
That's
some
all right,
roadside
Queen. You
mechanic.
here though,
They're
right?
destroying property.
It's all good.
Ladies and
Have
gentlemen,
you stopped
Mr.
through?
Binger and I will go round and round about it until the cows come home. They were rioters. They weren't demonstrators. Were the demonstrators down by the courthouse earlier in the night? Yes, there were people doing legitimate.
But even Binger called them rioters. Even
These
Binger said it
people
was a war zone.
rioted.
Even Binger said it
You
was
see
problems
this
down there.
tape,
Even Binger said
get in the
that
car,
he wasn't in his right mind and went down there because of what was going on. He knew what it was. He knew.
And
He
the important part of
he
it, and I'll
asked
show it
Kyle
to
like,
you,
well, why didn't you
is
call the police? Like he
here's
was
the
making a
first
case for the
bang,
defense.
which is
Why
Mr.
didn't you call the
Swanson's
police?
shot.
He was like, because
2 seconds
the police
later,
wasn't responding.
you see
The fire department didn't even come the night before. That's why the first car
hear
source
the
burnt
next
down.
shot, and then you see
Like he was
the
making a
exodus
case.
of all the people taking off from that.
Salute to you, Queen.
That's why Kyle couldn't run and continue to run from Mr. Rosenbaum, which he was under no legal duty to do whatsoever. Jacob Marshall referred to himself as Gage Groskwitz's.
I'm sure they ain't gonna
best
give you no
friend.
notifications on me though. Like I had to put it on Twitter and stuff,
We
but
brought Mr.
you know how that is.
Gross's best friend in as a witness because he had posted something on Facebook immediately after this. He testified he couldn't find Gage Groskwitz because he was under an anonymous name at the hospital. Nobody knew who Gage Groskwitz was, who Jacob
That's because he
Marshall
was down there with that illegal
He
gun,
takes it upon
and he
himself
ain't want. Oh, he was down there
to
with the gun
post
illegally, and he ain't want to have to
Facebook
answer no questions. So he
message
probably went in to John Doe or some shit.
talking about how. Go ahead, next slide, please. I just talked to Gage. To his only regret was not killing the kid and hesitating to pull the gun before emptying the entire mag on him. Coward.
Trying to be a tough guy, yo. But on the stand, he try to make it seem like he fucking worked for Greenpeace.
Ladies and gentlemen, why does somebody post something like that? Because that's what his friend told him. And he wanted to get Gage Groskwitz's word out.
You right, yo. I don't know why this thing don't. I'm gonna have to figure out something. I don't know why this thing won't show the emojis.
lied.
But yeah, you're right, yo.
He
You right.
took it
You know what I
down.
mean? Like I said, like I said, on Hotep's been told you in the chat. Yo, if you still hit HJ, try to get Brandon Tatum back on that after the Ahmaud Arbery case if they get convicted. See what he say then.
I'm done with the Kandari brothers. We did recall them, but I talked about that. Kyle Rittenhouse did not have to take the witness stand to tell his story. It was told through video. He wanted you as the jurors to hear his personal experience of the night of the 25th. He knew Mr. Binger would cross-examine him for hours, and he was willing to get up on that witness stand, take the oath, and tell his story the best way he could. And he did. Could Mr. Binger pick on him and find little things about it? A little bit. Did he damage his credibility? I don't think so. Getting to Mr. Yellow Pants, which he's been talked about. Mr. Binger talks about, he says with sarcasm. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the video. But remember,
So Mr. Yellow Pants
said to
accuses Kyle asking if you held your gun at me or
that's
something like
low
that.
ready. That's not like this. It's down.
You try to say Kyle pointed his gun at him when he didn't.
Did he have a gun? Yes. Did he tell him to get off a car?
And Kyle, apparently,
When
according
said
to
it
what he said,
Kyle,
is sarcastically.
Kyle said, I did, and walked away, not wanting confrontation. And remember Richie McGinnis's testimony about that. There was the individual with the slingshot. There was the individual with 2 rocks in his hand, and the other individual with the gun. And when Mr. McGinnis walked up to him, he immediately had to put his hand down because they were the one advanced on him, and he bought him off with a White Claw. My client, when this happened, was 17 years old.
Hey, question to y'all in the chat.
Are to be judged as a 17-year-old.
Let's be optimistic here. When Kyle is acquitted of this, what y'all think gonna happen up in Kenosha?
Mr. McGinnis said he didn't appreciate the way people looked at him. And maybe he didn't. And I think the best evidence of that is when Mr. Rosenbaum begins chasing him.
You might, hey,
hear on the tape,
that's why he's not
yells
even the
friendly,
main prosecutor.
friendly,
He's the
friendly.
he's the deputy
He thinks that if he just
DA
says the
or
magic
whatever he
words,
is.
they'll stop.
He's not even the main
They
dude.
don't.
The main dude probably
They
want
could've-
to touch us with a
Mr.
10-foot
Rosenbaum
pole.
could've
Probably threw his
looked
ass
at it
out
and
there
said,
for
"Hey,
it.
You're not trying to harm anybody. I'll leave you alone." Is that what happened? No. He said, "You ain't going to do shit, mother effer," and began to continue to chase him. Mr. Rosenbaum made a fatal mistake. That day, chasing Kyle Rittenhouse into the corner,
But seriously,
ran as far as he could.
Kyle's acquitted. Let's just say Kyle's acquitted
He
tonight
shot
or whatever, or
times in
tomorrow.
3/4 of a second.
What y'all think will happen up in Kenosha? Y'all think we're gonna have more of the same, or you think everybody gonna be cool about it?
Of Kyle's residence. Antioch, Illinois. I think most people here know where it is. It's not a foreign country. Antioch, Illinois, right across the border. He worked in Kenosha. His dad lived in Kenosha. His grandmother lived in Kenosha. He worked in Pleasant Prairie. His
Yeah, the
best friend,
prosecutor was
Donnie
speculating a
Black,
lot in this case.
lived in downtown Kenosha.
He, like, for the guy, like they said, the guy with the yellow pants. You know what I mean? The guy accused Kyle of pointing his gun at him. You know what I mean? And he said, you know, he said, I did. Like, but then the prosecutor tried to read it like he said, I did. You know what I mean? You know, it's all in, you know, what's the word? It's all objective. I mean, it's all subjective. You know what I mean? He just tried to make it sound a little more spicier than it was. So there was a ton of speculation.
Back in that conference room. And when I saw what happened in Kenosha, it bothered
You
me
don't think nothing will happen, Queen?
those 3 days.
You too, Brian?
Protest, but people
Nah, you know, I don't know. I don't think so either. I think the real outcry is going to be if the McMichaels get off on that Arbery case. That might be the problem right there. That's the next one we got to cover on that one. That Arbery case getting real spicy. There's some shit that came out that niggas ain't know about.
Worked as a lifeguard. When he came down here, are we to believe that he's working to clean up graffiti, not getting paid because he's here to look for trouble? Is this all
See, that's what I'm, DMW. The agitation gonna come from the outside. I think you're right about that. You know what I mean? I think that, I mean, that's what happened the last time. The last time all that shit happened out there was the agitators from the outside. You know what I mean?
Dr. John Black, his testimony about
Yeah, I think you're right, Cam, too. You know what I mean? You know, especially, you know, it's a small town. Those people knew what was what. A lot of people, you know, got all that property damage and stuff from what happened. They probably learned, like you said, they broke out of the matrix after that.
Shot from, I should say it this way, friendly 3 times.
You talking about, Queen? You talking about if the outside agitators come in? Yeah, if the outside agitators gonna come in, they're gonna try and provoke some stuff.
Change in elevation in the video as he's lunging forward. The shot rings out after that. The 0 shot, which is shot 1, then 2 2600ths, the next one 24, 23, for a total of .739. He gets up, he comes around the car.
I know, right?
Individuals had
They
left.
ain't gonna get them, right? People crossing state lines, agitating, they get free bail, ain't that right?
To believe that he could stay there is
Yeah, that Arbery case getting crazy. It's getting real. It's getting spicy up there. I think they debating whether to kick Jesse Jackson out of the trial. I think he in there trying to influence some shit or something going on. I think they had some hearing today where they were saying no more black passes in the courtroom. I gotta look further into that because at a glance that sound a bit sketchy. But I don't know what's happening in that case because this one's been taking a lot of precedent. But I got to find out. I want to know what's going on. I'm going to report on that when I find out.
No color was added. No color was subtracted. The videos didn't go from color to black and white. There was no structural problems.
Yeah, you're right. But you know how when a mob get together,
brightness and contrast right in front of you.
fucking World War Z.
One video went from a dark mess of nothing, move the 2 lines. I don't know how to do it, but he did right in front of you, hit it, and all of a sudden it's light and you can see it. The whole of
I'm trying not to talk as much so we can hear the defense.
2 minutes,
You know what I mean, but because I don't want to get the strike or whatever, or them to take down the stream. So I got to kind of talk every so often to kind of break it up.
Law enforcement. Officer Brittany Bray. Let me go through the back up to the first one. Total time 2 minutes 55 seconds according to Dr. Black. Next, Friendly, the 4 shots, 10.8 seconds.
I know,
Those are
right?
shot times.
I mean, honestly,
Remember the sound,
I don't care what
the
anybody say. I know they was
the
talking
video,
about they was
that
looking
the
for him and
audio
all this
grab,
other
the
stuff.
green thing
But the
showed
minute he
you.
ran,
You can
he was
see
no
when the
longer a
shot
threat. You
is
don't chase.
fired, he matches it up,
You know,
times
if you
them
want to
out by
observe and
frames per
report,
second,
you know what I
come up
mean?
with those
You can do
numbers.
that.
And that's
What they did
because
was some Dukes of Hazzard
when you
shit.
show something in slow motion, it looks like somebody can really have the time to think, process, and do all that. You have to remember how fast all this was happening in event number 1. He's running, the bag is thrown, he turns, addresses, keeps
Not to
running,
mention 2 shots ring out while he running at while Rosenbaum
makes
chasing
that
him.
decision that he has to turn around and address the threat with Mr. Rosenbaum. At that point, Kyle is stopped.
They're trying to talk about, well, you don't know if it was firecrackers. Like, you know firecrackers from a
Could have
gun.
put up his hands and just backed up. Made a bad decision. Shouldn't have done it. No. He goes diving for him, yells the FU, and is going for his gun. Next. Event 2, I have it beginning when he's hitting the head with the rock.
Yeah, dude ran up on him, hit him in the head with that rock.
14.9 seconds.
See, the thing is, I think the defense need to be showing these videos so people can have it fresh in their head, so the jury will have it fresh in their head what's happening. They only showing these still shots.
Measured.
You know what I mean? The prosecution was showing video. They had the video of Rosenbaum stretched out, bleeding out.
Brought the ruler
Prosecution need to bring out the video.
Number 2, Kyle, pull back the 4 inches, slow motion or otherwise. There were no unfired bullets found at the scene for the AR. There was the unfired bullet by the clip and the Glock that had been cleared from Jason Lakowski. Drew Hernandez. Mr. Binger, for some reason, didn't like Drew Hernandez. You could hear it in his questioning. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Hernandez had a point of view.
Yo, you
There's no doubt
crazy,
about
yo.
it. But what was that point of view? He's a citizen journalist, and he's covering the riots.
man.
And he didn't think that the mass media was covering the riots correctly. They were just calling everybody demonstrators and not covering the devastation and the destruction that was being done. That's
You know
his
what I mean,
point of
Richard?
view.
Because, you
It's
know,
kinda my
same to
point
you,
of view,
Queen D.
too.
You know what I mean? Prosecutors sitting there trying to tug on heartstrings and the jury showing videos and stuff like that.
that mean
Even
when
though
he
the
says, "I
videos
saw him
contradict his
lunge,"
whole closing argument.
He's lying? He doesn't
Maybe that's
have a
why the
dog in this
the
fight.
defense not.
He
But if I was the
tried
defense,
to
I'd
get
be
all
showing
this
these
video
videos.
to the
Simple
state.
as that. I'd have showed the Richie. I would showed the Richie McGinnis video, and I'd have showed Gage's video when Gage asked him, "Did he shoot somebody?" When he said that he was going to the police and that he ain't do nothing wrong, I'd have showed all of that.
And we end up playing it.
The prosecution,
He
they buried
describes
themselves.
The Zeminskis, Joseph Rosenbaum starting fires in the dumpster, the yelling. He sees Kyle, the yelling of the word. the
Facts,
N-word.
yo. Facts.
He sees Kyle walking around yelling medical, medical, right up until the last time when event number 1 starts. He was standing right at the corner, had a clear view to the first incident.
All right.
He described him as
It's
charging
hilariously tragic.
behind.
This shit is
He saw
hilariously
Joseph
tragic.
Rosenbaum throw the bag.
There's no need for this
He
case,
described
yo.
hearing a
This went on
shot
way too long.
behind Kyle.
Make you wonder what we missed.
This is the Zeminski shot, the man who's never been brought before you people. And he saw Joseph Rosenbaum lunge. Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey, if you haven't done it already, hit that thumbs up.
almost 10 days.
Hit that share button.
You've heard the
I appreciate y'all
openings,
sticking it out with me for real.
most of the closings. And I have yet to hear Mr. Binger explain why Joseph Rosenbaum.
This shit kind of fun. I'm about to get me a third
shoots my
monitor.
client. To me, if I didn't know better, I would think he's a whiny defense lawyer. Everybody's out to get me. Everybody's lying. I'm the one who's bringing forth the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, the videos show the truth. The videos show the actions of Joseph
Show the videos.
Rosenbaum.
Bring it home. Show the videos.
Balch is
Bury the
lying.
prosecution
Fiedler's
right
lying.
now.
Lakowski's lying. Richie is lying. Dale DeBrune, he's really lying because he's imputing my character. Nathan DeBrune, excuse me. Hernandez, he's lying because he's a right-wing journalist. All 6 of them are lying. And then, I forgot.
They'd
Kevin Howard, he's lying too. Because
yeah, they'd have
he
put
could see
Kevin
through the
ass on
videos.
trial.
He could see that Rosenbaum came out from hiding behind the car.
Harry and Marv would have been heroes.
The Duramax. Rush to judgment. As I said earlier, you bet. Highly charged atmosphere here in Kenosha. Make no mistake, you live here, you know.
Lead on that.
They had to do something. They had to charge the white supremacist.
I don't know.
Who isn't
Like,
a white supremacist?
I feel like if you got common sense,
They've never
they are.
reassessed.
They'd be like, I forgot what show. I think it was Martin when they went to say, "All right, jury will now deliberate." They'd be like, "Yeah, we made our decision like an hour ago." You know what I mean? But I don't know. It could. I think it. I don't think it's coming back today. I don't think it's going to come back today. I'm gonna say we're gonna find out. Let's say like sometime tomorrow, late morning. I think maybe let's just say about 1 tomorrow.
This is a political case. We can take politics out of it as in Democrat.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do. You know what I mean?
But the district attorney's office is marching forward.
They need to finish with them videos. They gotta bring it home. Bury the prosecution.
Be responsible. They need somebody to put and say, we did it. He's the person who brought
Yeah, I think, you got a point. It could be 1 to 2 days. As fast as that Chauvin trial verdict came back, I'm thinking sometime tomorrow, though. But you're right. It could take between 1 and 2 days. We'll see.
Bring us forth. And I ask you,
like I said, anybody with some common sense, they probably would have made their mind up that the first day.
That night. They were not going to be dissuaded from doing things. They were pushing, firing dumpsters, destroying property, and that was. So you're saying Mr. Rittenhouse put out a fire? Yes.
Yo, if he get off, he better sue the fuck out of the state of Kenosha.
Small fires turn into big fires.
The courthouse better be named after this nigga.
Kind of stupid. James Armstrong, Hocus Pocus, out of focus. I've talked about him.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen what's her name? What's the girl on Young Turks? I forgot her name. But yeah, she even admitted that she was wrong about it.
Go from a right-handed shooter to a left-handed shooter. The mirror on the truck is the arm. Their whole case
They don't want that Covington kids action.
lies on
That's
that
right.
one.
Yeah, Anna Kasparian. That's her name. Anna Kasparian.
Spent 20 hours.
They don't want that Covington kids. They don't want that Covington kids action. What'd he get? Like 250 mil?
In the opening statement, it was my client chased him down and shot him in the back. Oops, can't prove that. This is the day before. Car source burning. Car source 1 burning the ground. What's in the foreground? A trailer. Should be the subject. Pictures later on. There's Kyle, earlier in the day on the 25th, setting up his alibi, setting up his I'm a good person story, because he thinks he's going to go out and kill 3 people.
I know, right? They burning shit down the night before. Fire department ain't show up. Police ain't do shit.
How would he know he's going to be photographed? And what does that do? It just shows he's interested in his community, trying to do good. Picture, Mr. Kandiri at Car Source 3. The state doesn't want Kyle to go to Car Source 3. According to the state, he has to stay at Car Source 2, 59th and Sheridan. Yet, Nick Smith called and asked him to go there because whoever was going to protect that property had left.
And I see a med kit. I see an orange med kit down there between his legs. Check that out.
It's argument, folks, you heard the evidence and use your collective recollections to determine what the truth of it is and discount anything that is not supported.
So it looked like the closing arguments happened. I wish they would have sold some video.
Phone call saying they were destroying cars at Car Source 3, and he went down there. First, Kyle asked for a fire extinguisher, asked the other individual to go down there with him. He said, didn't give an answer, and Kyle took off going down there to try and help protect that property. This is that night. The
Oh, okay, never mind. They still going.
Fire.
I thought they was closing it.
Here is Mr. Rosenbaum pushing one of many dumpsters, dumpster fires. Right there, that's one. Another one.
It was literal dumpster fires going on, yo. Look at this shit.
Bats, guns, Mr. Rosenbaum pushing it in. Either the gas station or Drew Hernandez. Looks like there were police vehicles right down here. They're trying to push it to him. I apologize. They're trying to push the dumpster down to the line of police or to the gas station.
That's what they've been calling them. Check it out. They done put the damn fire out.
Put out, and the reaction
They was pissed.
from Mr. Rosenbaum of dumpster number 2.
So I'm happy they showing some video now. Y'all see the police? Ho. Did y'all see the police sitting there chilling watching this shit though? Look top right of the screen after he pushes the dumpster.
Get over this.
I guess they ain't gonna show it. Police just sitting there watching.
Mr. Zeminski, the smiling puppeteer standing behind him. Yeah, they didn't know each other. Maybe they didn't, but they sure spent a lot of time together that night. Mr. Zeminski with the yellow circle.
I ain't know Mike Epps was down that bitch.
Firearm, yellow pants.
Nigga look like Mike
Zeminski with
Epps.
Flashlight in her hand. Last time I checked, there wasn't any lighting problems. The flashlight is a weapon to bash heads if you have to.
So what's that? He got the glizzy on him.
Many people with AR-15s, not one person with an AR-15. That's the difference between this, the ultimate gas
Shit,
station,
my nigga with the blue bandana got a sniper
what
rifle.
happened.
That ain't an AR. That's a bolt action, ain't it?
Kyle Rittenhouse,
That's a big ass bullet he carrying.
he had been taken away from the herd. And
Like he had a
Rosenbaum
30-06.
and Mr. Zeminski were going to get him. Movement. Mr. Rosenbaum and his bag. He's not dissuaded by the people. He's going right at him. He's not afraid of them. He's pushing in and going at them. He's not afraid of a gun. Yelling. Shoot me, N-word. Shoot me, N-word.
No, let him say it. Let them hear this shit.
Holding his gun down to his side. Remembering.
Let them hear
Black
that.
Lives Matter rally, and he's there to support.
Let them hear that.
Yeah, right.
Play it.
Mr. Huber, right there, holding him back, actually physically.
Why? So instead of trying to hold him back, they should have knocked this nigga out for saying that.
In his face.
Look at this man. Listen.
This here, I'll start it, but I'm going to point it out first.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they should have knocked. I'd have knocked that nigga out.
Starting the Duramax on fire. Right here, jump kick, man.
More dumpster fires. Check this shit out.
You see him shoot in the lighter fluid or flammable liquid. You see jump kick man being right involved.
But these the heroes. These the heroes that they're heralding, right? These the heroes that they're heralding.
This is the calm Tuesday evening that Mr. Binger is alluding to. Mr. Rosenbaum, this time wearing a blue mask, tipping over the porta potty. It was just a little porta potty. The trailer. The trailer is important because it's the way he arms himself with the chain. Here's Rosenbaum pushing it.
So more than likely the chain he got came from the ramps on the back.
Misunderstood, a little bit upset. What does he need a chain for?
She could beat
What
the
does
shit
he
out
need
of
a
somebody.
bag? Why didn't he leave it with Ms. Swart?
You 5'4", that chain give you a hell of a distance. It give you a good reach.
Blue circle, his bag, backed up by the fire. Look at that bag. Does that look like there's nothing in it? Look at this. What is that? That's not a water bottle, ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you what it is, but it's not a water bottle. Look at this. 2 feet of chain on each side. He's got it. Taken, I'm sure, from right here. The toe chain. Jump kick man. Right there, the mask.
Yeah, so like chains on them trailers like that, because I got them. Like most of them they held on, like you can unscrew the main link and you can take the shit off because sometimes you got to replace them. So either that or he got it from off the back of the ramps.
Rundown live. Here, once again, Rosenbaum, Zeminski at the trailer after it's been taken down the street, set up on its side, and started on fire. You can still see one of the chains hanging from the tongue of the trailer. Rundown live. The state showed this video. I started my opening statement.
Like I said, if y'all new to the channel, please hit that thumbs up. Please hit the share button. Please hit the subscribe. If you ain't familiar with me, go back and watch some of my videos. Hopefully you like it.
Where do I get to the end? Oh. Here's the picture that we showed at the beginning. Right there, the 125-26. Mr. Rosenbaum, masked with his chain.
So clearly the whole night this nigga was a problem.
Video. Mr. Rosenbaum with the chain.
Like I said, when you 5'4",
So I said earlier,
that
look
chain
how
give you a
Kyle's
hell of a
dressed.
reach.
Look at the pack on his left side, left hip. The crosses going across the front and the back of his
I don't know if I would have went for a single point sling with that long ass AR. I mean, a single point sling, like it might be made for like my little 4.5-inch pistol for real. But like for a long AR, you don't go with a single point. You gotta go with a 2-point sling. That way you can sling that shit across your back when you got to do something, you know. But that just goes to his, you know, his beginner, you know, gun enthusiast.
The individuals who were there with him. Slingshot, rocks in the hand, gun.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I appreciate you, Richard, man. Salute to you.
After having the brief,
it was hot as hell that day. I was irritated, son.
Pants, he goes away from them, goes over, looks for Mr. Balch. They might have been close to one another, but they did not find one another.
Like people was really trying to make an argument saying he had on latex gloves to stop the gun residue. I'm like, that shit don't stop anything. And two, I ain't wearing no fucking latex gloves with that gun. It'll throw on some mechanics gloves or something like that. They tripping.
After that, he goes back and waits. He gets the phone call. He testified about the phone call.
Get the gloves with the hard knuckles.
Nick or Dominic.
Just in case I got a bunch of nigga in the face.
He gets a fire extinguisher. He hasn't had a fire extinguisher all night, but he gets a fire extinguisher. The circumstantial evidence shows the call came through. He testified the call came through. You know, if it wasn't in his phone, the state would have brought it up. But now they're playing games once again.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. I'm going to try and do lives a lot more. I got a podcast coming out sooner. Just trying to get everything set up for that.
Excuse me, starts in black and white and goes to color. You have jump kick man.
100%. You're 100% right. That's what the latex gloves were for. But these crazies on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, they were trying to ascribe some other motive to having on latex gloves. It was nonsense to me.
I'll stop it a few times.
What up, D Digital? What's up, bro? What up? I'm definitely gonna start keeping this content coming.
Ball exploding in her ass. That's Kelly Zeminski speaking.
Definitely will, bro.
Blurry. Keep your eye here and here. Kyle will come into view. That's Kyle right there to the right of the garbage can by that splurge of light.
Okay.
Mr. Rosenbaum, as soon as Kyle is coming, gets up and starts walking away along with Kelly Zeminski, this individual, jump kick man was there earlier. Up there.
That Kyle with the fire extinguisher?
That's Kyle. With the fire extinguisher, walking. Doesn't say anything to any of them. They see him coming, they head down to do their ambush. He's not chasing them. He's not running after them. He's walking down to put out the fire. Let's start it over again. You hear Kyle yell, friendly, friendly, friendly. That is the start of Mr. Rosenbaum chasing Kyle. Now they come in. He's thrown. It goes to the small. He's thrown the bag.
Duramax just got. Oh, that Duramax got fucking big.
Stop.
Perfectly good Duramax. God damn.
Duramax. The shine on the Duramax. Kyle comes right into this area before he's chased. That's shown on the drone video. It's shown on the FBI video. Skinskis are standing right here, and that's when the chase is on.
Yo.
You can hear the destruction of the vehicles as he approaches.
Yeah, all these people doing all of this destruction, all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, they heroes. You know what I mean? People of good moral character. Get out of my face with this.
Gun, gun, gun. And he's off and running. We've seen the videos. Here is the Zanine video, parts of it. As I
You
said,
right, Dork Head,
watch
yo.
for the first
You
shot.
right. Your kid was trying to go down there and make a
Look
difference, trying to
at all those
protect this
people.
community that he was a part of,
Standing there.
that you
A
know that he
wall
spent so much time in,
destroying
you know what I mean?
cars.
being
State wants
demonized
Kyle to run into
for a
that
bunch of
wall.
criminals.
Listen
for
for the
real
first
criminals.
shot and watch the lackadaisical attitude, and then hear
One of the guys
four
they
shots in
defending
quick succession.
Was a
Watch what
pedophile.
happens.
Just got out of the nut house apparently. I think the other dude was for attempted murder. The second guy was for attempted murder.
They shooting. Oh shit. Oh my god.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. The first shot happens, they barely begin to move. Between the first shot and Kyle's first shot, which is the second shot you hear, Kyle has turned around. Why is he turned around? Because that wall of people is there and he has nowhere else to run. The cars, the van, all of the people destroying property, the soda machine, he turns around and Mr. Rosenbaum keeps coming. Mr. Rosenbaum keeps coming, he lunges, gunshots.
I just got finished reading Ready Player 2, yo. It wasn't a bad book. What up, Super Carlo, yo? Kyle did the wood chipper's job.
There's Mr. Zeminski with his gun down there. At his
There you go,
side,
Cam.
as his wife
Booker T's
yells,
Washington.
"Effing
Good recommendation
get 'em,
by
effing
Super
get 'em."
Carlo.
He just shot somebody, which they started.
He fucking shot him! Get him there!
Pointing the gun, once again, in his right hand.
I agree with you, Dorkhead. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, 100%. And that's another thing. You ever notice in some of these videos where they be antagonizing like the police or somebody like that? Like, you can't do shit, and they start antagonizing, they start attacking the police or attacking somebody, and then that person finally responds and take them out. All of a sudden, everybody like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. Why'd you do that? Like, what are you talking about?
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody?
I'm going to get the police. He's going towards the police. He's continuing on.
This the dumbass that got his arm blown off.
He hasn't shot Gage Grosskreutz. He hasn't pointed the firearm at Gage Grosskreutz. The medic, if he thinks someone shot, why isn't he there? He doesn't know Richie McGinnis is tending to him. None of the people who chase him are at Car Source 3. There is no evidence. Zeminski doesn't chase him. Zeminski doesn't want anything to do with it. His wife doesn't want anything to do with it.
You trying to start some sibling rivalry, huh, Cassius?
And is chasing him down Sheridan Road in a northerly direction.
Who shot? Who shot?
He turns all the way around, looking towards Car Source 3. Could go there. At this point, he hasn't armed himself. Kyle is zero threat to anyone. This active shooter BS is something
After he
that
told
Mr.
Gage he
Baker
going to the police.
is trying to sell you people. Has he shot anybody since Car Source 3? No, he hasn't.
Right.
He's running to try and get to the police. Mr. Binger must live in fairy tale land to think that Kyle could stop.
Nah,
put
he just
his
think the
gun
jury's
down,
stupid, and I hope
say,
they ain't.
"Hey, everything's good. Leave me alone. I'm going to the police." Unfortunately, that's not how the real world works. This was real world. People yelling to stop him. Next picture. You saw it in opening statements. Mr. Mr. Grosskreutz chasing down Kyle Rittenhouse. Kept his gun in the small of his back. He's arming himself right here. Look how far Kyle Rittenhouse is ahead of him. No threat. He's run 2 blocks, almost 3, because it's at the far end of 63rd. He hasn't shot his gun since. If he's an active shooter looking to take as many people as possible, he's laying waste to everybody as he's running. Remember, he's got 30 bullets. He's shot 8 times, 4 in scene 1 and 4 coming up.
I know, right?
He's
I know,
not
right?
indiscriminately
They all
shooting.
F12 until the shit get real, then they looking for 12.
Here's full speed. Pointing the gun at anyone?
Mind you,
No.
y'all see in the
Running
distance, y'all see the
down
police
street,
line right there?
Trying to get to those lights where the Bearcats are and law enforcement.
Makes you wonder who gave the stand down
Running
order, huh?
outside to hide in the
We all know.
shadows.
Do you hit him in the head with the rock?
Blow to the head. First, knocking his hat off. What has Kyle Rittenhouse done? Nothing. Trying to get away from the mob. First strike from the mob.
Yo, could you imagine if he landed a clean shot with that rock?
He's not an active shooter. He's gone 2 blocks, hasn't shot anybody.
Yo, what up, what up, what up, what up?
Coming in behind with a skateboard at the ready, Anthony Huber. That will be strike number 1. Remember in opening statements when Mr. Binger said, "Oh, something happened to his skateboard." He took a swing at him. Kyle blocked it with his arm in the enhanced photos. What does Mr. Huber do? He runs, grabs the skateboard, and comes in for more.
So the dude Huber hit him twice.
He's on the ground. Most vulnerable
Classic.
he can be in. What do we have? We have Anthony Huber here, already picking up his skateboard. We have this guy with the towel wrapped around his head coming in on Kyle. Jump kick, man.
Yo, he the only black dude that he shot at, and then he got away because the Lord allowed him. Because he sent 2 shots his way, he missed them. Again, look in the distance. You see the police?
You saw this individual over here, who's now obstructed, come in on Kyle. Kyle points his firearm at him. He backs up. Kyle does not shoot. Jump kick man is leading with this foot. This foot is still on the ground.
Yo, you know that nigga watching this, right? You know that nigga watching this like, yo, yo,
Watch.
I almost died that night.
Jump kick man kicks him in the face.
Honestly, I don't know. He might, because like if you watch the video, he limped away. I don't know if he caught him or not.
Coming in with the skateboard. Watch what Anthony Huber does with the skateboard.
I don't know if he hit him or not.
Coming in. Kyle's trying to get up. Anthony Huber's hand goes onto the gun. This is the fast one. The gun is pulled away from Kyle. Anthony Huber fires. When Anthony Huber fires, Gage Groskowitz flinches, covers up. Natural, uncontrollable reaction.
You're right. You're right. He'd have been dead, and they'd have stomped it on his head. They'd have killed him. They'd have killed him. Look. Dude with the rock. Bow. He stumbled. Hit the ground. Jump kick man. I don't know if he hit him, yo. He might have caught a bullet, yo.
Motion. He's been hit in the head. The cap is off.
Jump kick man might have caught a bullet.
Anthony Huber
Jump kick
winds
man
up.
might have caught one, yo.
The full force of his body. From back here, he swings the skateboard at Kyle. Kyle senses it coming. He turns around and looks, blocks it with his arm. Doesn't turn around and shoot Anthony Huber as he's being attacked with what is a deadly weapon. A skateboard can cause death or great bodily harm, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't do it. He continues to run a couple of steps before the blow to the head, and this has knocked him to the ground. He immediately changes direction, goes running for the skateboard. I want to get through this one. Okay. Now this is slow motion. Just as he's on the ground, he's set up, trying to get up. The individual to Kyle's left is the one who runs in. Kyle points the firearm. backs
Spray and
off.
pray though. No, his ass really been in jail. That was the case. Put his hands up. You see that? You see him put his hands up?
Backs up.
You see him put his hands up?
He's now addressing the second nearest threat. Does not shoot. That individual right there in that picture is stopping.
Look. Here come jump kick. I think jump kick man caught a round, yo. I think he caught a round, yo.
Contact, fire.
I think he caught a round. I think he caught a round, Joe.
Blow to the head and neck. Now, I'm going to start it.
Well, he just missed him.
You'll see Anthony Huber pull on his gun. and you'll see the butt of the gun separate from Kyle's body going in that direction, away from him.
Yo, if he grabbed his gun by the barrel, yo, that shit's hot. Yo, it was, I don't know. I don't know, because if you see, watch how he move. Watch how he moving. Well, either he sprained his ankle when he tried to jump kick him, or he caught one, yo. I don't know.
Shot. Mr. Huber goes down.
I don't know. But Hubert definitely caught one to the chest. Look at Grosquist. Look at Grosquist. Look at Grosquist.
Hands up. No pull.
No, I guess he didn't catch a round. The Lord was looking after him.
Mr. Grosquist is standing like this, and all of a sudden you see him kick his foot back and launch forward. He loads his back foot going forward at Kyle with a loaded Glock handgun. Kyle gets with fires. If he's got his hands up and it wants nothing to do with Kyle, like everybody else, just back away and you don't get shot. Mr. Grosquist decides he's going to take him out, and his only regret, as stated in the Facebook post, he didn't fire first and empty his clip into the kid.
Look, watch. He put his hands up.
He's hitting the arm. He's shot at once. He's backing up. That's the last shot. I went through the quickness of those shots from the rock in the head to that fourth shot. He gets up. You still see
Oh, the dude ain't want no smoke. He put his hands up like, oh, fuck that.
armed with a board or a 2x4 or a fence post. Doesn't shoot at him. This person he doesn't perceive as a danger. His hands are up. Doesn't shoot at him. Now as he wheels around him, watch what this individual does.
I don't know, yo. Unc might be right. Rittenhouse might still be Treadstone, yo. We don't know. I mean, he did fucking superb under pressure.
Kyle turns around. He turns. That individual steps away from him. No more shots. Doesn't shoot randomly. Shots from behind him. Continues on his way, trying to turn himself into the police.
Yeah, I don't know. Unc might be right, though. Kyle could still be Treadstone, yo.
Trying to get to the end of it.
Like I said, you see that police line? They sat and watched the whole thing. They saw it all go down. Hey, you right. That's why my ass go to the range all the time. When I can't make it to the range, I got my eye target. And I be practicing in the house. Y'all ain't about to catch me slipping out here. It's crazy how all these motherfuckers talking about fuck 12, all this stuff. I mean, now all of a sudden, police. He shot these people. But y'all want to be lawless the whole night.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the case. There was
Everybody want to be a gangster till they get hit in the face.
no threatening
Or hit with that
behavior
223.
that started this. Mr. Rosenbaum was hell-bent on causing trouble that night.
I know, right? Unc, you got a point. I'm telling you, he might be trusted. I'm sorry. I don't know.
There are tragic parts of it, but Kyle Rittenhouse's behavior was under the law of the state of Wisconsin. You've heard the instructions, and I'll end with this. You decide on count one. If you decide that his conduct was privileged under the use of self-defense, you don't go on to the lesser included.
Facts.
If it was privileged under self-defense, that affects count two. Both of the things that happened in scene one, as I read earlier, page 9 of the jury instructions. If his conduct was privileged as to Rosenbaum, it's privileged as to Mr. McGinnis.
That's facts.
On to the next ones. At scene 2, Ladies and gentlemen, there is no evidence whatsoever that he was an active shooter other than Mr. Binger calling him that. And there's no evidence that any of those other individuals.
That's the other thing, yo. When they say active
attacked
shooter,
him
that should kind
in
of
the
get at
mob
me a little bit, because
that night.
you know what I mean. If you're at the range and
Or
you're shooting, you're an
attacking
active shooter. You know what I
He
mean?
wasn't shooting.
Like,
And if they want to be
just
the
a blanket
heroes
term.
and they want to beat somebody and do what they're going to do to them, they better be right. And they weren't. Kyle Rittenhouse shot Mr. Rosenbaum because he was attacking Kyle.
Period.
Every person who was shot was attacking Kyle.
Period.
One with a skateboard, one with his hands, one with his feet, one with a gun.
Facts.
Hands and feet can cause great bodily harm.
Imagine if they
State's
knocked
gonna
him
get up
out
and say, well, he
and
didn't
took
have
that
great bodily
gun
harm, so it doesn't matter.
and put
That's
around
not
in
the
him,
standard.
and then went
The
on
standard
throughout
is
the night and
could
shot more people.
Cause great bodily harm. My client does not have to take.
Let's
a
not
beating
forget the Chads,
from the
everyone.
hands of this mob or the hands of Mr. Rosenbaum. And Mr. Rosenbaum might be little, but he was a
Like
pretty
Dorkhead
muscular
said.
guy. And some 30-some-year-old guy can take a 17-year-old
That would have happened. That would have happened.
Till Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a tough choice, but the evidence only leads to one conclusion. That is that Kyle Rittenhouse's conduct on August 25th was privileged based upon the actions of Mr. Rosenbaum and others. There are no winners in this case, but putting Kyle Rittenhouse down for something he was privileged to do will serve no legitimate purpose. I ask you to do this, do justice here under the law of the state of Wisconsin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Let's take about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case.
All right, so according to the rules of this, the defense, so the prosecution went first, then the defense went. Now the prosecution gets to go again. They get the last word, and then the jury goes for deliberation. That's why I said I don't think this is going to go down for tonight. So I think maybe tomorrow sometime or whatever, we'll see. Let's see if they go for a quick break. If they do go for a quick break, I'm gonna go for a quick break for a minute. I appreciate y'all sticking around with me. You know what I mean? I really do appreciate it. So what we do know, give me 1 second. So what we know about the facts of the case, we know that Rosenbaum aggressed Kyle. Kyle tried to evade Rosenbaum. Kyle was cornered, couldn't get away. Shots was fired as Rosenbaum was chasing him. Kyle turned around when he couldn't run no more. Rosenbaum lunged for the gun. Kyle took action, put Rosenbaum down. Oh, you already know. You already know. Yep. Straight up. Straight up. Kyle circled around. He initially called somebody, said, "Hey, I just shot somebody, I need help." Richie McGinnis, who was there documenting, stopped what he was doing to come help. When he came to help, the crowd started yelling, "Get his ass, get his ass, he just shot him, get his ass, blah, 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 blah." And then Kyle took off running. Again, he has the AR, he got the monopoly on power, but he still felt the duty, felt the need to retreat, and he did that. That shows that he had no ill intent. You're 100% right on that. So as he's running, he's knocked to the ground. We saw that his back is literally against the ground. A dude comes up and attacks Kyle and tries to jump kick him. Kyle sends a shot his way. We don't know if he caught a round or not. Looks like he didn't. Called him jump kick man, right? After that, the dude Huber came across with the skateboard. Kyle blocked it with his arm. He still caught him in the neck, apparently, according to Kyle. Kyle sent a shot in his chest after he tried to take his gun from him, put him down. He sat up. Groskowitz backed up, put his hands up. Then he lunged forward with the gun, trying to get a quick get the drop on Kyle. Kyle was faster, blew his bicep off. He went running. The dude next to him backed off. Everybody else around him backed off. Kyle then got to one knee. He got up. It was still shots going off around Kyle. He backed up. He turned around, went straight for the police line. Like I said, at no point throughout any of those ordeals or throughout the night was Kyle ever the aggressor in any situation. Period. He was always provoked. So, in my opinion, he acted in self-defense of his life, period. This should have never been a thing. This should have never been a trial. And I know this should have never been a trial because they put the assistant DA on this and not the actual DA. You feel me? So even the real DA knew better. So it's ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? It's too much. This kid shouldn't be on trial. They demonizing this kid for defending his life. So what if you don't think he should have been down there? Neither should a lot of people have been down there. Damn sure the rioters shouldn't have been firebombing shit and flipping over shit and doing all that other stuff down there. But he went down there to make a difference because the night before the police wouldn't. Y'all got to ask yourselves, why didn't the police intervene in any of those situations? Why didn't the fire department come put no fires out? That forced a response from the community. The community took it into their hands. Oh, it's definitely a political trial. We already know that. We already know that. They trying to put it under the moniker of Black Lives Matter when no Black lives was involved in this. Other than Jacob Blake. That's a whole story in itself what he did. I don't even know why they was down there rioting for him. You know, but it looks like they went, let me see if they started back up. All right, so like they on a little break. So I'm gonna go on a break for a minute. If y'all with me, y'all with me. If not, you know, I appreciate y'all coming through. So I'll come back when I guess they probably gonna be in a 10 to 15 minute break or something like that. So I'll be back. I'm gonna go use the bathroom, check on the kids. No problem. I appreciate y'all, Richard. I'll be back.
talk about me when I'm gone. Oh, honey, though our friendship ceases from now on. If you can't say anything real nice, it's better not to talk at all, is my advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh, yeah.
Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
All right, we back. Yo, I ain't got no sound. Bear with me. All right, look like it's probably just the chat. It's like it's the stream itself ain't got no sound right now, but we back. Sorry guys, I had to get something to drink.
It's simply be reasonable. Someone to be holding semi-automatic.
Give me a second.
Thank you, Judge.
There we go.
It simply cannot be reasonable for someone to be holding an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle with powerful ammunition and be chased by someone who is unarmed, who's smaller than him, who's shorter than him. And the first thing that you do to defend yourself is you plug 4 rounds into it. You shoot it from about 4 feet away, and not from 4 feet from Mr. Rittenhouse, 4 feet from the end of that gun. Your first shot immobilizes him. It shatters his hip. Then he's caused to go forward. And if you watch the videos, and we're going to watch a couple during this brief rebuttal, he crumples. He immediately crumples to the ground. No one is saying that Mr. Rosenbaum should have chased Mr. Rittenhouse. No one is saying that Mr. Rittenhouse did not have a right to defend himself. This case is about the right to use deadly force. And I want to talk about that standard because Attorney Richards, perhaps on accident, misstated it. He said that the standard is that it could cause death or great bodily harm to Mr. Rittenhouse, or that it is likely to cause death or great bodily harm to Mr. Rittenhouse. That is absolutely not what the standard is, and that is not what this trial is about. The standard is the defendant may intentionally use force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm, such as fire an AR-15,
right,
only if the defendant reasonably believed that the force used was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself.
And it was.
Not, oh, if you repeatedly smash someone's face, it might lead to injury. Not,
what?
This could have happened. Imminent
if you repeatedly
bodily harm. There's an old
oh
phrase
my
that
God.
I can kill you with my bare hands. And there is literally no evidence that Mr. Rosenbaum was capable of that.
We don't want to find out.
Mr. Rittenhouse has size on him. We heard how he's a swimmer. We heard how he's a lifeguard. He's apparently in some kind of shape.
Okay.
Punch him in the face. Kick him in the testicles. Knee him in the face. Hit him with your gun.
Even you see,
immediately get to shoot someone. And I don't care
you
about
see his
provocation or anything.
face.
Put that aside.
He like, wait,
It is
what?
not reasonable for any adult, for any person, for any
Oh my
17-year-old
God.
male to not try and defend yourself first using other methods. Now you factor in provocation, the fact he had no right to retreat, or no ability to, or he had to retreat, and that he had to exhaust all
No,
methods.
he didn't have to retreat.
Clearly, if there is provocation,
He didn't have to.
he's guilty. But even outside of provocation, why do you get to immediately just start shooting? As Mr. Binger said, he brought a gun to a fist fight. And he was too cowardly.
He brought a gun to a mob.
To fight his way out. He has to start shooting.
He brought a
Let's
gun
just
to a
say,
mob.
Theoretically,
I seen dudes
that we
get stomped
think
out
that the
and had to
12
get
youth
carried
leaders
out with an
reasonable
ambulance.
to have used force deadly force in that situation. Shoots once, takes out his hip. What does Mr. Rittenhouse have to do to avoid that? Well, maybe take one step back. And Mr. Rosenbaum is no threat. And Mr. Rittenhouse is responsible.
You shoot
for
to
every
stop
round
the
of that
threat.
gun. It did not have
You
to
act like he
happen
was
as
aiming
fast
for
as
his
Mr.
hips.
Rittenhouse
You
made it
shoot
happen.
you shooting to
He
the
could have held
threat
back
is
at one
stopped.
shot. He could have held
Period.
back at 2 shots.
This armchair quarterbacking with this shooting shit is ridiculous. This stuff happens in a matter of
Didn't get 4
seconds.
shots. Mr. Rosenbaum didn't get 4 shots, and Mr. Gross-Kreutz did not get 4 shots. The defendant has the ability to gauge what he is doing and
It
to
don't
stop
fucking
shooting.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Mr. Richards talks
It
about
wasn't
the threat
excessive
being
force. You
immobilized.
shooting to the threat is
What
stopped.
threat to someone 6 inches shorter than you that you've already shot in the hip and is already falling to the ground have? Why do you have to keep tracking him and shooting him? And
He
then
didn't
able to
track
kill
him and
shot
shoot
in the
him.
back?
He didn't. We know he didn't. We know he didn't give him a kill shot in the back because their own expert witness said so.
And Mr. Rosenbaum and Mr. Rittenhouse are alive. Because the defense talks about games that the prosecution has played. Let's talk about games. Let's talk about how Mr. Rittenhouse on that night did not tell Dominic Black, did not tell Joanne Fiedler, did not tell anyone about this grabbing of the gun. Didn't tell anyone about, oh, I was afraid they were going to use the gun against me. That is because once Mr. Rittenhouse and his team understood that an unarmed person chasing him and unarmed people chasing him later on would not be enough to meet this standard, to meet this privilege, they had to concoct a story.
Right.
They had to concoct a story about
He didn't
how,
have to concoct a story.
suddenly I was
It is what it
agreed to
is.
this
The
gun
video
being used.
shows it.
And if that's the real reason, why didn't Jason Lukowski know that? Why didn't Dominic Black know that? Why didn't Joanne Fiedler know that?
What?
You darn well know if there was any evidence of the defendant saying that the night of, we would have heard about it. So yes,
He must have got his law degree from the University of Burger King.
Mr. Rosenbaum is 4 feet or so from the barrel of the gun. He gets shot in the hip. He begins to crumple. Now remember, we did this demonstration when Dr. Kelly testified. This bullet entered here in the middle finger and came out here.
That's because he probably went to block the gun. He went for the gun or block with his hands up. Like what
I'm
the?
Mr. Rosenbaum trying to take this gun away. And this is how I'm going to do it, with my hand turned almost completely around, and with apparently my fingers spread, because these two don't get soot, which may mean they were on the gun or outside of the path, and the other ones do get soot. We're not talking about injuries to the palm here. We're not talking about injuries like this or any kind of grabbing injuries. We're talking about either something accidental or completely defensive to knock that gun away as he is being shot just before
No
he is
shit.
killed on the
No
third
shit.
or fourth shot.
He was trying to get to him. What? You're making a non-argument.
Well, we're supposed to believe that Mr. Rosenbaum is Jason Bourne or John Wick or some other movie star hero who's capable of killing with his bare hands and deserves
Anybody's
the treatment
capable of killing with their bare
that he
hands,
got
sir.
from the defendant. Mr. Richards' closing was quite personal. If not taking shots personally, Mr. Binger, he was gloating and boasting about his client's kills. And he talked a lot about the Zeminskis. He knows darn well that the Zeminskis are charged by my office and they have a Fifth Amendment right. This is a criminal defense attorney.
Stop.
Thank you.
Stop. Let me ask you to step out for a moment, would you?
Here we go. He gotta let the guy get the jury to step out because they doing some dumb shit. They doing some dumb shit again. It should have been a mistrial a few days ago. You had to ask the jury to leave because he's gonna have to chastise these niggas one more time. He done did it it's the third or fourth time he had to do this.
What's your objection?
It's not in evidence, and Mrs. Zeminski does have a right. Her case has been disposed of, and she did not appeal.
She did not plead or was charged with any arson, which the defense could get into, and she would have a Fifth Amendment right.
Wait a minute. As I recollect it, I think I handled the case. As I handled the Jason.
Joshua Zeminski?
What's that?
Joshua Zeminski?
That's pending.
Right.
Mr. Zeminski's case is pending, and it has been repeatedly adjourned to follow this case at the state's request. I handled the case of Mrs. Zeminski, and she came in on a reduced charge. It was a recommendation, I think, for a 7-day sentence.
She was being revoked and sent to prison. I don't know the pictures of that case, but if Attorney Richards can,
she wouldn't have a right of. I think I sentenced her to 7 months in prison consecutively to her sentence, and I don't think. Why would she have a testimonial privilege any longer?
Right.
if there are charges outside of what she was charged with, she wasn't charged with any arsons.
Are you going to charge her?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
All of the charges out of the event were wrapped up. They can't piecemeal the charges, and to argue that she has a Fifth Amendment right now is ridiculous.
I did say Mr. Zeminski had a Fifth Amendment right, and then the objection came. I did not say Mrs. Zeminski. I can clarify that Mr. Zeminski has a Fifth Amendment right.
Well, let's find out from the reporter what was said. I thought it was just Mr.
But y'all wasn't worried about Kyle's Fifth Amendment right when y'all was trying to undermine it. That's why y'all got chastised the first time when it was caused a mistrial. Yeah, you close the gap. See if you can get to the gun before he can let it off. I mean, you know, it's risky. It's a risky move.
I think he said that Zeminskis are charged by my
The
office, and they have a Fifth Amendment right.
Did you say the Zeminskis? Both? All right, well then.
I'll clarify.
I'll sustain the objection.
I understand.
I guess that's a Freudian slip. Guess the Zeminskis ain't gonna get off.
All right. Ask the jurors to come back in, please.
That's reckless because they was the ones that made the first two shots while Kyle was running from Rosenbaum.
All right, I've sustained the objection because the statement which was made by Mr. Krause was not accurate, at least as regards Mrs. Zeminski. Any question? Go ahead, Mr. Krause.
Ms. Zeminski was charged and convicted by my office. Mr. Zeminski still has pending charges. Attorney Richards knows that he has a Fifth Amendment right to not testify.
He can. Let me ask you to step in the library again, please.
Yo, this is a fucking shit show. Jesus. They know what they're doing. See, the thing about it is, this is what I don't like about this jury shit. I mean, I get it, but this is what I don't like when the prosecution does this. They say some shit, the judge gives them instructions to strike it from the record, not to use it in their deliberation, but they already heard it. It's already in their mind. They don't care if they get they get in trouble for it, but it's already in the mind of the jury.
It's not in evidence. Two, one, wait for the door. One, it's not in evidence. Two, if he wants to say he has the Fifth Amendment right, they also grant him immunity. They're the only people who can.
Yep,
And if you're going to
100%.
say that, I should have a Sir rebuttal to explain it to those 12 people. They hold the keys to Mr. Zeminski testifying or not testifying.
And like I just said, they're gonna get off. Freudian slip.
We just heard 2 hours of how terrible Joshua Zeminski was, and the defense wants us to offer him immunity. That's completely our decision.
No shit.
He still has a.
That doesn't mean
What
nothing.
I'm saying is accurate.
But you know, the questioning, the question you're asking, the Zeminski case has been here on a number of occasions, and it has been either it's been a mutual request to adjourn the case. Who's his lawyer?
The mutual request.
Okay, it's been repeatedly requested that it be adjourned, and I assumed, or was told, I'm not sure which, it would be adjourned pending the outcome of this case. No, that's not true.
See?
It's not true.
See?
It is true that I assumed it. Whether I was told that or not, I don't know.
It's not the same as Dominic Black, Your Honor. It's a different situation. Mr. Zeminski's case will go to trial on January 31st.
Well,
That's the plan.
but why was it being adjourned?
I think there was some, we had a witness who was not available at the last trial date, so we needed more time to get them in.
That doesn't mean adjourn.
And Mr. Richards also brings up a point that you have control over the availability of a witness in terms of
Yep.
grant of immunity, but I don't want to get into that because I think on the first point he made, which is that I don't think it's an evidence.
I asked Mr. DeBruin about it.
What did you ask Mr. DeBruin?
I asked Mr. DeBruin that when we were talking about our meeting, that he was going to be a witness against Mr. Zeminski, and that Mr. Binger talked to him mostly about Mr. Zeminski because there's a pending case against Mr. Zeminski.
You know you done fucked up, right? They screwed up, and now they just showing their hand about the other cases.
After Mr.
They gonna let them other
DeBruin
dudes off, yo.
talked about our meeting
You see how they talking about him in this trial?
on cross-examination.
The heroes,
I asked
yo.
Mr.
They gonna let them
DeBruin,
go a mutual
I believe this was
adjournment?
a while
Come
ago.
on.
I indicated that he was going to be a witness in the Zeminski case, and that Mr. Binger asked him mostly about Zeminski, and why would Mr. Binger ask questions about Mr. Zeminski in an effort to change his statement in the Rittenhouse case? And he had no answer for that.
Like I said, they got their law degree from UBK, University of Burger King.
It's that there's an open pending case against him.
There was specific testimony that there was a trial date on January 31st. That came in through Mr. DeBruin, and I actually mentioned it in my closing because it's in evidence that there's a pending case. I'm prosecuting Mr. Zeminski, and the trial's coming up in January.
Littlefinger trying to throw him some bail because he fucked up. I don't care what nobody say. He like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
I don't know. You're making it sound as if, well, you're making it sound, and correctly so, that Mr. Zeminski is unavailable because of his testimonial privilege.
Right.
But now Mr. Richards is asking
Get him.
whether
Come
he
on.
should be allowed a sur rebuttal to, so the jury would understand that that is somewhat under the control of the district attorney.
It is under the control of the district attorney.
I'm not going to, at this point, I'm not going to get further into that. I'm just going to ask you to move on to something else.
Well, my next line of argument is that
He's
the
trying to
defense
throw you
named
some bail.
him in their witness list and could have called the Zeminskis.
No, he can't because he's got a Fifth Amendment privilege for the very reason you indicate, and privileges must be claimed as much as possible outside the presence of the jury. That's the statute.
Facts.
It was called Kelly Zeminski. They writted her here from prison.
Pardon me?
We had to have her available in case something came up. That doesn't mean we have to call her. We have no obligation to put anybody on the witness stand.
Nor does the state. And
The state has-
The state has the burden of proof.
Many times about how We could have called them, which I think was dishonest.
The state got the burden of proof. You have to prove he's guilty. That's how it's supposed to work. Innocent until proven guilty, right?
The Zeminskis were on it, and they have the ability to call them as well.
The witness list is not in evidence.
These are opening statements, and he commented on those multiple times.
I don't,
He gonna retire after this shit. He gonna retire, write a book. 4 doors, more whores. The Kyle Rittenhouse case. Yo, the prosecution always doing some fuckboy shit, yo. They've been doing it from day one. Day one. From day one. They wanted to tread all over Kyle Rittenhouse Fifth Amendment. Now all of a sudden they want them to respect theirs.
That Mr. Zeminski has an open case and a Fifth Amendment right.
yeah. Well, it is an accurate statement.
That I should be able to fill in the holes because they're the only ones who can give him immunity. I can't call them.
That's right. And they know that. You see this little smug look on his face?
Why'd you subpoena him then?
You know.
He was sitting in the hallway for 2 days.
No. You address your remarks to me, both of you. To me. Not to each other, please.
It's called being prepared. I don't know what's going to happen at a trial.
Okay.
Thing is, can he override the state's privilege?
Well, I think I'm just going to tell the jury that Mrs. Zeminski would have been available to be called by either party. Okay?
Fine.
I mean, that's fair.
Fine.
Oh, man, I got out of it alive. Okay. Ask them to come in, please.
Still some fuckboy shit, though.
All right, folks, what the situation is that Mrs. Zeminski would have been available to either party to call as a witness, and neither of them has done so. Okay? Any question? Go ahead, Mr. Krause.
Thank you. Mr. Richards also mentioned that Attorney Binger talked about how all these people are liars, and he was acting like a whiny defense attorney. I don't know why that language had to be used, but Mr. Binger never said any such thing. He never called anyone a liar, except for perhaps Mr. Rittenhouse. And Mr. Richards talks about how, well, in the state's opening, you heard nothing about provocation. Mr. Richards knows that is a specific thing, that instruction we get from the judge at the end of the trial. Had we mentioned at the beginning, he would have objected.
Mm-hmm.
He would have objected.
And they still do that?
Now let's talk about this threat, this supposed threat. Mr. Richards talked about that gas station and showed the video, and it showed Mr. Rosenbaum at the end. Attorney Binger had said he's not in this video as it started, and you don't hear anything from him. and that is true.
Yeah.
At the very end, he is seen standing quite a bit away from Mr. Balch and Mr. Rittenhouse. This is where that supposed threat happened.
As if it's not on video,
There's
it don't
a
exist,
distance
huh?
between them. Next time the camera pans back, the protesters are pushed back, and you never hear this threat. You hear nothing. And apparently that is what the defense is accepting, is where the threat happened, although Mr. Rittenhouse actually does not accept that, because he said it happened at Blocker 2 North. So they can't agree on when the threat took place. They can't agree on where the threat took place. And it's the only few seconds of that part of the night that is not on tape anywhere. It's another concoction to give credence or to give weight that, oh, he had to defend himself against an unarmed man. There's been talk about how the defendant came around that Duramax and raised his gun. That didn't seem to be a contested issue in the case until the defendant lied about it on the stand. The defense themselves submitted an exhibit, number 41, in which it is denoted where the person that put that video together indicates Rittenhouse pointing gun at Zeminski's. I think it has a question mark.
But you also said the Zeminski's fired shots while Rittenhouse was running from Rosenbaum.
And we showed this drone video. Now, but then
the funny part is the drone video, you don't see shit. You don't even know who's who. You can't even pick Rosenbaum or Rittenhouse out of the crowd. They kept playing it like 5 times and you didn't know who was who.
The defendant could have told you the truth, but that hurts his case, and that gives us provocation. Now, I did have, on rebuttal, Mr. Armstrong put in 2 very blurry pictures. Mr. Binger didn't even mention these pictures in his closing because they're maybe the 5th, 6th, or 7th strongest pieces of evidence that Mr. Rittenhouse raised his gun. But the defense is seizing on them, and they inaccurately said.
But it doesn't matter if he raised his gun. All that matters is what happened between him and Rosenbaum.
20 hours.
Period.
He made us multiple shorter videos of it. These images were the last part of that work. And that image does show Mr. Rittenhouse holding a gun. It is blurry. Does it show every detail? No. But we thought it important that there at least be some still shot besides these videos. The second one I showed, again, is very blurry, but it's of the shooting. And you see Mr. Rittenhouse blurry, you see the puff of smoke, and you see Mr. Rosenbaum blurry, still very much upright. And that is why those pictures are given. It was the tail end of all the work that Mr. Armstrong did on this video. The defense seems very scared of these pictures because it helps to prove their client lied on the stand, and it shows that he provoked the attack. Now, I would like to show you, I believe this is the full drone video, Exhibit 73.
Let's see if this contradicts the whole thing as they've been doing all this time.
Okay, please play it. So in this one, it is difficult to see the raising of the gun because it's the full video. I would encourage you, if you find it necessary, to take a closer look at the bigger TV. Please stop it. Now, if you see in this video, Mr. Richards wants to make it seem like the only recourse the defendant has in retreating is walking into this mob of people who are breaking cars. But look at all that open space that he has. At this moment, he
so what? That's not what he ran to. That's not what he ran to. He was running. That's what he ran to. It don't matter at the time. You looking at drone footage of where he could have ran. That's like watching a fucking football game and seeing where fucking Derrick Henry should have took the outside instead of cutting up.
He goes right into into this totally clear
When you
space
down there in the mix,
that
you
was
don't know,
within
you
the
don't see all that shit.
He did not exhaust his duty to retreat.
He exhausted his duty to retreat according to the way he ran.
Now, I'm going to go to the video. I'm going to point something out. Mr. Binger is going to play it again, and I'll show you. This is in relation to Mr. Richards indicated that no one that
Yeah, I'm still up, yo. I'm still up. What up, Chad?
Incident observed the shooting. That is not true.
Like they looking at drone footage. It's like watching a fucking NFL game and armchair quarterbacking, yo. When you down there running, it don't mean he got tunnel vision. He ain't see that shit. He ain't see that he could have ran to the left and cut up. He just trying to get away. Then you got shots fired at him while he was running in that direction.
Get out of the way. This is.
And he and Rosenbaum was on his ass. Kyle ain't the fastest.
He's standing there the whole time, and he comes and he helps push the man in the wheelchair out of the seat.
Kyle ain't the fastest.
So he absolutely was there. He did see what happened. What's next? This is Exhibit 10. This is the Ford Fisher video. If you look after the shooting, it shows this individual pushing the wheelchair away from car source 3. There he is across the street, pushing the man in the wheelchair away out of the scene.
But then he goes back. What's that got to do with anything? He inserted himself. I don't know what point that the prosecution trying to prove.
Hello?
Stand your ass at that podium and talk.
This is a video you've seen before. It does look better on the large television, but this is where he comes into the screen. This is one of the videos that Mr. Armstrong cropped for us in his 20 hours of work. This is slowed down by 50%, and it zooms in as good as possible given the limitations of the video. I'll point it out up here, but I said it is better seen on the large TV. There he is pointing the gun. He's not close enough to the car to have that be a factor. He puts on the fire extinguisher, he freezes up. It is.
Yeah, that drone footage.
Do the next.
You need a fucking laser pointer to prove that shit.
Oh, we got it. Again, that really wasn't an issue at trial.
Like I said, he got his degree from University of Burger King, Chad.
Now, Exhibit 84, this is another video that Mr. Armstrong did in his 20 hours of work. And this shows the part of the chase. That's where you see him point. Mr. Rosenbaum does his jump. See the defendant slowing down, seemingly preparing to shoot. And look where that first shot is. Go back one more, play one more time. This is the zoomed in image that will eventually was shown.
Look how fucking close, how far, look how close he was. Look how close he was, yo. Get out of here.
Just keep shooting at him, although he poses absolutely no threat.
Look how close he was, yo. Look how close he was.
Again, 4 feet from the barrel of the gun, not from Mr. Rittenhouse himself.
It don't matter. The gun is an extension of him. Like, who don't understand that?
Armstrong made.
The gun is an extension of
20 hours
him.
of work. I
Fucking.
believe he made 6 of them all told. They're all on evidence. Here's a.
You can tell this dude never been in a street fight or nothing.
That puff of smoke is already out. He's already upright. He crumples immediately to the ground, but the defendant keeps shooting him.
I don't see where he kept shooting him. Let's look. When he collapsed, he fucking stopped.
So
To
did
me,
Mr. Rosenbaum turn and get shot in the back?
that's
that
4
way?
shots right there.
No, he was even less of a threat. He was falling face first on the ground with his hips shattered.
Okay.
So yes, he was shot in the back. And he
I
was
don't see a
killed by
final
a shot
shot.
in the
I don't
back.
see a. I don't see a shot when he was on the ground. I see him fall onto the ground and then keep moving. I'm telling you, it's a clown show, yo.
Attorney Richards indicated that Nick Smith called the defendant. Nick Smith did not testify to that. He was never asked. We don't know who or who called the defendant to go to that scene. And despite the fact that there's this madman out there who's such a threat and is going to kill the defendant, he just saunters down there all by himself. No problem. He's not scared. This threat, if it even existed, was not taken seriously.
If he existed.
He's a babbling idiot, as Mr. Lukowski said. Mr. Rittenhouse testified he didn't hear anything before he shot. He didn't hear this "fuck you." He didn't factor in the gunshot. There is no evidence that Mr. Huber did anything untowards that evening. They talked about pushing a dumpster, picking up pepper balls. That was not evidence that was ever submitted in this trial. And I don't know where it comes from.
It don't mean it didn't happen, bro.
No evidence that he told Gage Grosskreutz, "I had to shoot in self-defense."
Prosecution is bugging, yo. Like,
And
they trying to make a non-argument. They trying to make an argument out of a non-argument.
Detective Howard testified in a certain way, and how he didn't talk about the drone footage or anything. He knows we got the drone footage, surprisingly.
The drone footage don't even help you.
Guns do not have handed. There's not a left-handed or right-handed gun.
Yes, it is.
So,
you can have a left-handed
yes,
gun.
the demonstration
You can have a
Mr.
left-handed
Bieber
AR made for
did
you.
is, however,
Ask American Gun Chick. She has a
It was
left-handed AR.
Facing that way, he picked it up, and the videos show it. Detective Antarami.
They have left-handed ARs. They do
saw
make
it
them.
and testified to it, and it wasn't an issue until the defendant lied.
Not to fuck to mention that Kyle been writing with his, from what I can see, like he been writing with his what, his right hand the whole time?
He lied all that night. A lot has been made about how Gage Grosskreutz had an attorney. How hypocritical from a lawyer to hear someone criticize someone else hiring counsel.
He ain't criticizing for hiring
Mr.
counsel.
Rittenhouse isn't here alone. He has lawyers.
Gage had his lawyers there so he didn't say the wrong shit up
I
there.
apologize that the district attorney's office followed our interpretation of Marcy's Law, which is a fairly recent, especially at that time, constitutional amendment. Gage Grosskreutz is not on trial. He followed the advice of
Gage
counsel
should be
about
on
picking up
trial.
his phone, just as anyone who hires counsel can do. They can follow the advice of their counsel. We got his old video from that night. The defense has seen it. We have it. What else do we need?
He should be on trial.
Text messages from 3 weeks before?
But y'all want to condemn him for wearing a free as fuck shirt?
Because the defense wants you to believe that these people got what was coming to them. That they were bad people doing bad things. And we should be proud and boastful of Mr. Rittenhouse for killing
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
Gage Grosskreutz testified what he heard, that he heard I didn't shoot anyone, and Gage Grosskreutz acted on that. He then followed, he left Mr. Rittenhouse thinking that he was not involved in the shooting, and started going to the shooting of Mr. Rosenbaum.
Okay.
Before being told by others that saw it that he was the shooter, and then he returned. So
Okay.
Gage Grosskreutz relied on this statement of Mr. Rittenhouse.
Okay. What's your point?
Let's talk about a rush to judgment.
What is your point?
Mr. Rittenhouse turned himself in.
Yes, he did.
Are you supposed to wait days, weeks, months to charge murderers who we know murdered people? It's a red herring, as Mr. Binger said.
No, he turned
It's
his
throwing
sign.
out red
That's a sign of
herrings, false,
character.
hypocritical
That's a sign of
arguments,
character. He turned himself in
and
after he did it.
attacks on those that
Even
Mr.
after the Kenosha police didn't
Rittenhouse
arrest
killed
him and told him to
to
get the
try and
hell out of there
distract
before they
him
pepper
from the
spray
fact
him,
that he was not
he went
committed
back
fear of
across state
justice bodily
lines
harm, and he was not
to
what's that
Antioch
we
and
did.
turned himself into the Antioch police and said that he needed a Kenosha detective. Keep that in mind.
We heard from Ms. Carrie Ann Swart. Now that Nathan DeBruin talked about jail, now we can try to smear Mr. Rosenbaum more, although there really is no dispute, or was no dispute, that he came from a hospital. He's carrying a hospital bag. Ms. Swart testified that she talked to the hospital about how he would be released, that he went to this hospital. She knew he was coming home from the hospital. She knew it was in the bag, and he showed that picture of it backlit against the fire, trying to make it seem sinister. She talked about how they're
No, not trying to seem
we did that
sinister.
image again. Mr. Armstrong did this image
You
for
claim
us.
nothing was in the
Look at
bag. This bag had a bunch of shit in it.
You can see medical papers. Though that big image they see looks like rolled up medical records.
And you don't,
that
and
get when you're
speculation. That's
discharged
speculation.
From a hospital.
That's speculation. We don't know.
And Ms. Swart testified that he was given medications that
Why,
day.
if that's the case, why ain't that
Perhaps
bag
it
on?
perhaps it was a bad reaction.
Why
I
ain't
don't
that
know.
bag in
I'm not a
evidence?
doctor, but he was given them that day. He could not get the ones for future days because things were closed. Balch did not testify that he thought there was anything sinister in the bag. He said he said something inaccurate at the time, but he said that he saw shampoo bottles and a water bottle. Mr. DeBruin, he did take some nice photographs, and he clearly wanted the world to know that he took some nice photographs.
Oh, so
He's really more relevant to Mr. Zeminski. And
So
he
now
apparently-
that was
this is
your
the
that
photo of
was
the bag. You can examine that further.
that was your witness.
Mr. DeBruin must have some problem with police and DA's offices.
That was their witness, and then he came
goes to
out
the
and he
detectives.
said,
He doesn't give a
"Yeah,
full
they
story.
told me to change my
He
story."
testified to this. This is not me saying anything. He forgot things because he was so nervous because the door to the police station still had an unrepaired window. That caused him such nervousness that he could not give a full statement. He meets with us in a very polite, short meeting. He has very little relevance to this case that we knew about. And yes, we showed him some videos. Is this Josh Zeminski? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, would you see him in these other pictures? Yes. You don't know it's Josh Zeminski? Okay. Somehow that's us getting him to change his statement. What's that? We show him pictures, videos, say, is that Josh Zeminski? I don't know. We show him other pictures. Do you recognize that as the same person? Yes. That's not getting him to change his statement. We had him read his statement. Do you have anything to add to it? No. The next day, he goes over to Mr. Richards' office. All of a sudden, he knows all this extra information that wasn't in his statement. Oh, but he was so nervous meeting with us because we showed him a video or
So now they trying to discredit this dude because he came out and he said that they tried to persuade him to change his statement. So he went and hired a lawyer because they tried to compromise his statement.
A gossip blogger who attacks my office on a
Here they
regular
go.
basis.
Here you go.
He's very pro Rittenhouse.
There you go.
Another just funny coincidence in this case, just like how Mr. Hernandez, who doesn't live in this state, could hire any of the thousands of attorneys in Wisconsin or tens of thousands of attorneys in the state. But no, he hires an attorney who Kyle Rittenhouse's defense team has already paid money to that firm.
You're right. Freaks come out at night, right?
What a coincidence. So Mr. DeBruin doesn't tell us any information, then tries to attack us, and then tells the defense a lot more information. Mr. Rittenhouse denied pointing a gun at the yellow pants man, said he was being sarcastic. Well, Mr. Richards basically just admitted he did point the gun. So which is it?
No, he didn't.
We know that
No, he didn't.
Rittenhouse was going around that night
No, he didn't.
trying to be a paramedic, a policeman, and a fireman without receiving any real training in any of them.
Neither did Gage Grosskreutz.
And he went around with his gun trying to scare people, to intimidate them, to not do minor property damage.
Like, do you hear him? You hear the cognitive
Chaos
dissonance?
tourist. He was there to see what was going on, act important, be a big deal. And then the moment a little bit of that chaos comes back at him, he cowardly shoots a man instead of fighting back. You put yourself in this situation, you know it's going to be out of hand. It gets a little out of hand. Someone is chasing me, and you have to shoot him.
I wonder what they would have did in this situation. I really want to know what they would have did in his situation.
And that is not what any reasonable person
He looked like he'd have curled up.
would have done.
Neither one of them look like they got any fight in them.
There being a rock in that hand. Now, there's talk about how the defendant maybe have re-racked his gun. We don't see that.
I mean, something like scaring is a deterrent, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean?
That as Gage Grosskreutz is sitting there with his hands up, the defendant turns
Just
over his
saying.
gun and is looking at it and is doing something with it. The defendant admitted to this, that he looked at the gun.
No, he didn't. He said he didn't. He said he did not recharge the gun. He said he did not re-rack that gun.
And it does not mean that
as well as they said they didn't find an unspent shell. They said they didn't find an unspent round.
Testified that she shot AR-15s. She knows AR-15s. There's if it jams and there's an unspent shell casing, the re-racking will take out the unspent shell casing.
No shit.
It does not have to be a live round.
No shit. It is a live unspent shell casing. Is a live
I don't know
round.
what he was doing with his gun, but it's certainly reasonable.
An unspent shell casing is a live round. You dumb son of a bitch.
And then what does he do? He doesn't step back and take a firing position and shoot. He didn't shoot him 5-6 seconds earlier when Mr. Rittenhouse was being an active shooter.
There we go with that active shooter term.
And shot at his third. He would have every right to have stopped Mr. Rittenhouse's activities at that point. But he didn't. He came up closer. He surrendered, and he said, he believed his surrender was not being accepted. Who shoots someone like this? Is he trying to shoot his own hand off?
What?
He never does anything about the actual position to shoot that gun. And as Mr. Richards admitted in his closing, when it's pointed at his head, his arm is already blown off. We're supposed to be so scared of Mr. Grosskreutz with his Glock when the defendant is holding a loaded AR-15.
What's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with anything?
And there's this preposterous argument that, Kelly Zeminski is holding a flashlight. It must be to bash heads. Certainly no one carries flashlights at night to walk home in the dark or walk to your car in the dark.
That's what I'm saying, yo. Like, he sounds ridiculous.
I'm looking to bash in heads? No.
Big heavy ass mag light she had in her hand. They got smaller lights. They give out better beam than that.
We hear about how, this vicious kick that if you watch it live, you're not.
Like I said, you can tell that he had never been in a fight in his life.
80 degrees. That is Kyle tracking him with the gun and shooting at him.
Yes.
He's moving as he's moving. That is not the force of the kick.
You don't know that.
Makes that clear.
You don't know that.
But again, we're grasping at straws and we're throwing out red.
Because clearly, he missed him. So he had to make some kind of contact to deflect the to get Kyle off target.
A skateboard is a deadly weapon.
Yes, it is. Yes, it can be.
Someone should tell all the parents and grandparents and Santa Claus giving skateboards this Christmas about how they're giving their
every protest and every riot that happened. What they using them skateboards for? They ain't skater boys.
It's just preposterous.
They ain't out there doing kick flips and ollies.
Acting heroic.
They're using them as weapons to knock people out.
Hold them down and trying to take
and people have been knocked out with them skateboards.
The gun
it's ridiculous.
Attached to Mr. Rittenhouse.
It doesn't matter.
The defense concocted this. They were trying to take my gun story. They left out that it is literally strapped to him.
It does. No, it's not literally strapped. You can get it off of a lanyard. You can get it off of a lanyard.
that Mr. Rosenbaum was going to take the gun away from him when it was attached to him. It is an absolute red herring. It is an absolute ridiculous
It's an extension of his body, not a part of it. Like, this is what I don't get. This is how you know. This is how you even know they either A, they know shit about guns and self-defense, or B, they just being completely dishonest.
Imminent threat. You've heard all the videos. I'm not going to go into it any more great length, but when you listen to the crowd as Mr. Rittenhouse is running, they start yelling after as he's running when they're screaming, "Get him." Also, as people are approaching him at the end, they're asking, "Why did you shoot him? Why did you shoot him?"
He's supposed to stop and give interviews at that point.
These are people that were
He's supposed to stop and give interviews at that point. He's supposed to stop and have a whole conversation while he got a mob of people chasing him down. He was trying to get to the goddamn police line so he could get some kind of safety and get away from the mob.
I wouldn't do it either.
You ain't doing a whole lot, homie. You ain't doing a whole lot.
But that they did it is brave, and they did not deserve to be killed.
You touch kids, you know what? Whatever.
Kyle Rittenhouse has such strong ties to Kenosha, but he needs Google Maps to find a business he says he's driven by every day. He supposedly knows Kenosha so well and is such familiar with Kenosha that he doesn't realize you can walk one block either way to get back to the car source. He didn't want to go back to the car source. He wanted to go see what was going on.
So what if he
wanted to
did?
stay in the action.
So what if he did?
He wanted to continue to
So
do
what if he wanted to
things
see what
that
was
would make
going
him
on?
Feel big and make him feel important.
So what? So what if he wanted to do that? So what if he wanted to walk around there and see what was going on?
These minor
That doesn't justify him being
Again,
attacked.
Mr. Richards misstated the standard. It is not could have caused
Casualty number
bodily harm or
one,
death.
5-time
It is not
convicted
likely
sex
to
offender.
have
Oh, I'm sorry,
caused
pedophile
bodily harm
rapist.
or death.
Number 2,
It is
attempted
imminent
murder.
Threat,
Number 3,
death or great bodily harm.
had a gun. I don't know what his whole situation. They said
Where
he's a
is that?
felon, but I
Maybe
don't
a
know.
couple scrapes.
But I know that he had his gun down there illegally. Wasn't supposed to have a handgun.
Everybody
Lied
takes
to the
a beating
police about
sometimes,
having
right?
a handgun.
Sometimes you get in a
When he went to the
scuffle and
hospital, he
maybe
gave
you
an
get hurt a little
anonymous. He
bit.
gave a alias.
That doesn't mean you get to start plugging people with your Full Metal Jacket AR-15 rounds. And, no,
And they keep
bullets are
saying
not
Full Metal
bullets.
Jacket.
And we heard
They
testimony
keep
about that.
they keep saying Full Metal Jacket like they mean armor piercing.
Mr. Richards
So what they
mentioned this
so
in
what they gonna do?
opening,
Start
but
trying to
apparently
ban
he's
Full
noticed
Metal
that the
Jacket
evidence is very
ammo?
He talks
That's just
about
regular
this,
target ammo.
how
That's
Mr.
target ammo.
Rosenbaum put this shirt over his head to hide his identity.
He did.
Because he's going to go ambush Kyle Rittenhouse.
He did.
Well, then obviously watch the videos. He's had that shirt in his head for some time. Whether it's COVID, this is all pre-vaccine.
No, don't start that. Don't start
Whether
that.
it's tear gas, whether it's fire, whatever it is.
He did it
he's
so
using
he
to
did.
protect his
Nobody could
face,
see
not
who
as
he
some evil
was.
plan to
And
get
you don't
Kyle
know that.
Rittenhouse. They're setting this fire, and they begin walking down Sheridan. There's no evidence that they knew he was coming. There's no evidence that they had any plan to get him. I'd submit to you that the Zeminskis and Mr. Rosenbaum were doing what they were doing all night. They were going to go bash that Duramax or start or stoke a fire.
Yeah, that's all it was going to do. That's that's only this boys will be boys, right?
In the FBI video, he runs on to the scene. He puts down the fire extinguisher. He raises up his gun. Mr. Rosenbaum yells, "Gun, gun, gun." Why else would he yell that? It's very possible that while he was yelling friendly, 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 he's doing so while holding a loaded AR-15 at the Zeminskis. Mr. Rosenbaum was going to chase him out of there.
Yeah,
End
okay.
the danger.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
And Mr.
No, he
Richards
wasn't.
boasts that, something along the lines, "You won't do shit, motherfucker." Well, Mr. Rosenbaum was wrong. Oh, that's an attaboy right there. Way to kill someone unarmed because you won't engage them.
Again, out of touch. It's a dude that never been in a fight before. It's a dude that never had any problems with anybody
He
before.
raises the gun. He provokes the attack.
If that energy was ever
has to retreat.
bestowed upon him, he would
Has
crumble.
to exhaust
He would
all
crumble.
remedies before he regains the right to even use self-defense, not even to use deadly force. That's a whole other separate question. He does.
Hey, quick question, everybody in the chat. Is this is any of these closing arguments by the prosecution swaying you either way? I just want to know.
As I said in the beginning of my closing, I don't think you even need provocation. An unarmed man chasing you, and you shoot him 4 times as he's falling, you kill him as he's falling in front of you, because you don't want to physically defend yourself. That's first-degree reckless homicide right there. And Mr. Richards kind of plays games with the name reckless. Reckless means not intentional in this circumstance. And you can read the jury instructions, you can come to your own conclusions. And fire an AR-15 in any circumstance like this shows utter disregard for human life. There's no other explanation for it. If you're shooting an AR-15 at close range of people, you have no disregard for human life. That's not really in any dispute. I want to leave you with this. The meaning of reasonable doubt. I'm going to read portions of this instruction. Obviously, you'll have the whole instruction. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based on mere guesswork or speculation. That's what the defense is asking you to do, to guess what Mr. Rosenbaum was doing, to speculate what Mr. Rosenbaum was doing, to speculate and guess what Mr. Huber and this unidentified man were doing. We don't know because he killed 2 of them. All we can look at is the evidence and see him standing pretty much straight up or exactly straight up when he was shot in the hip and immobilized. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from fear to return a verdict of guilt is not a reasonable doubt. The defense's whole case has been trying to stoke sympathy for Mr. Rittenhouse and showing how everyone else was just a terrible person. Every life counts. Every life matters. If people did bad things that night, they could have been prosecuted. It's not up for Mr. Rittenhouse to be the judge, the jury, and eventually the executioner. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. There's a lot going on in this case. We all know that. We all knew that from the day we walked in on November 1st. But this verdict should be about what the facts are and what Mr. Rittenhouse did. That's what the 12 of you who go to deliberate will go and decide. You are the fact finders. You decide what is beyond a reasonable doubt. You decide what he is guilty or not guilty of from this menu of options that you now have. An imminent threat. The only imminent threat that night was Mr. Rittenhouse. He was not.
That's what I'm saying, yo. Like straight up, like I carry hollows in my Glock just simply because I ain't trying to take a whole lot of shots. I'm trying to put you down as fast as possible.
Mr. Krause. Members of the jury, the time has now come when the great burden of reaching a just, fair, and conscientious decision in this case will be placed wholly with you jurors selected.
What up, John?
Most important duty.
I don't think they got a case either, bro. John started like that.
Or political beliefs. You will disregard any impression which you may have regarding what you believe to be my opinion on the guilt or innocence of the defendant. You will disregard the claims.
You know what I'm saying? Mike got a point with Treadstone. You don't think they got a case, Carlo?
You will pay no heed
Me neither, bro.
The opinions of anyone, even the President of the United States or the President before him. The founders of our country gave you and you alone the power and the duty.
Yeah, we all gotta learn judo, jujitsu. We gotta be John Wick out this motherfucker.
Presented in this court. You will fearlessly keep faith with those who have entrusted to you the fair rendition of justice and the protection of our freedom. You will be very careful and deliberate in weighing the evidence.
They are definitely counting on them being naive. They treat them like they're dumb. I guess we're about to find out in the next day or so If that's the
You will
case,
decide only whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the offenses which are charged. Any consequences of your verdict are matters for me alone to decide.
exactly,
And must not
exactly.
affect your deliberations. It will be for you to determine whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty as to each of the offenses.
I mean, nobody would want to
charged or
shoot. You know what I mean?
You must
But
make a finding
you gotta do what you
as
gotta do to
each count of
survive.
the information. Each
Salute to
count
you,
charges
Domo.
a separate crime, and you must consider each one separately. Your verdict for the crime charged in one count must not affect your verdict on any other.
I legitimately think he feared for his life too, specifically because he was by himself.
Before you can reach a verdict which may lawfully be received, it must be reached unanimously. In a criminal case, all 12 jurors must agree in order to arrive at a verdict. When you retire to the jury room, select one of your members to preside over your deliberations. That presiding juror's vote is not entitled to any greater weight than that of any other juror. We're going to stop.
That's what I'm saying. I want to see how this jury going to do.
Return tomorrow. I'm going to let you take a vote. When you want to start tomorrow? You can choose 8. You can choose 8:30. You can choose 9. How many would be in favor of starting at 8:30? How many want to start at 9? I missed 8, didn't I? How many still want to start at 8? How many would like to start at 9? All right, that's the clear consensus. Well, it's not a consensus, but
Yeah, they definitely overcharged,
probably majority.
and the witnesses really went for the defense.
9 tomorrow, as we have been.
I mean, yeah, they threw a Hail Mary the whole time.
The case is ready for decision by a jury of 12. We don't have that, and it's just as important as ever. I'd say more so, except that it was always important that you not discuss the case with anyone.
So what happened to the 12th juror?
And you won't have to resist that much longer now because you'll be able to decide the case. Please don't read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial or anything to do with the trial. And tomorrow morning we'll assemble, and as I indicated earlier, the tumbler over there will be used. All of your numbers will be placed in there. And 6 of the, well, assuming there are still 18 of you, 6 of them will be drawn out. And those persons will be held in reserve and will not join the 12 in deliberation. We're going to retain you here in the building, those of you who are not selected. Will stay here in the building, and in the event that your services are needed as we continue the case. And then the 12 of you who are the jury selected will commence your deliberations at that point. So, again, no talking about the case. Please don't read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. Any questions, anybody? Enjoy the evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
So that's interesting. Let me end that poll. So how long y'all think before they come back with a verdict? That's my question. How long before y'all think the jury comes back with a verdict?
Okay. Anything else? No, Your Honor. All right. See you tomorrow. Be here for the. Obviously, you're going to want to be here, and you better be. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I sent them to you electronically. Yeah, about 2:45, I think. If they don't get it, if you didn't get them, I had some trouble with your email yesterday, but I think I got it resolved. I hope I did. If
4 to
not,
6 hours,
let
that's
me
true.
know.
Wednesday, you think, John? 2 hours, dorkhead. I don't think it's gonna take long either. I don't think it's gonna take that long either. I don't think it's gonna take that long either. That's interesting. I mean, I think this is an unnecessary case. You know, the kid should never been on trial. Simple as that. That's just my opinion. I don't think he should have ever been on trial. I think this was a waste of time, a waste of resources. You know, these prosecutors or whatever, the state, they trying to make a name for themselves, and they thought this was a slam dunk for them. You know, and they trying to ruin this kid's life, who was trying to defend his life. From some bad people. I mean, let's just call them what they is. They keep talking about victim blaming. You know what I mean? What about the victims of Rosenbaum? What about them victims? Y'all ain't want to talk about that. What about the victims of Huber? Ain't want to talk about that either. You know what I mean? It's sad. You know what I mean? I hope they do the right thing too, yo. You know what I mean? And I hope they don't cave to pressure. In the age of social media and all this other stuff, I don't know if pictures got out of them. Like I said, somebody was trying to take pictures of them and out them. I hope they didn't get these pictures out there. You know what I mean? And do some, intimidation tactics. But we'll see. So I don't think it's gonna come back today. But let's just say they started. What time they say they started? Around 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something like that. I think by noon we know what's what. You know what I mean? We'll see. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah, they need to. They need to be able to review the video and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They need to be able to go over the evidence. And I mean, it's to me, it's open and shut. It's open and shut. And the fact that this carried on as long as it did is just nonsensical. Meanwhile, the Ahmaud Arbery case ain't got no coverage. No coverage. But I'm going to follow up on that one because I heard some stuff that was going on in that case, and I really want to see what's going on. I want to see what's up with that. But we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. No matter what, man, watch out for the distraction. Watch out for the distraction, no matter what the verdict is. Watch out for the distraction, man. It's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting if the McMichaels get off on that Arbery case. You're right, John. They are. A lot of people, they weak-willed and don't have any common sense. They just go with the flow. What Kwame say? Go along to get along. But they don't like that energy. You're right. They did ask for a mistrial, and I think it should have been a mistrial the way they was going ham. The prosecution was going ham on some nonsense. They should have got a mistrial. I think they should have a mistrial at least twice. Judge wanted to play it out, and I think that's because he didn't want to look like, you know what I mean? He didn't want to look bad. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I agree. I completely agree. It's gonna be real interesting. I don't know. It's gonna be real interesting, man. It's just a sad fact of reality. This kid was trying to defend his life. You know what I mean? And you get punished for that. You're trying to defend your life and you get punished for that. You know what I mean? And like Chris and Cam said, the Second Amendment the Second Amendment's on trial. Understand? The right to self-preservation is on trial. If Kyle loses, this sets precedent. And if you're on the wrong side of things and you defend yourself and they don't like you, they can put you away on some trumped up charges. And that's scary. That's real scary. You know what I mean? That's what's up. Shout out to Cassius Cam. He gonna be on Aquarian Anarchy with Chad Chad, Nico, and them guys over there. I'm gonna go ahead and tune in. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. I'm sure it's gonna be a hot topic, a hot conversation. I had fun with those guys when I was over there. If y'all ain't seen that, go on over to the Aquarian Anarchy page. Check out the interview they did with me. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I mean, let's hope let's hope this. I mean, I laugh because the justice system is a joke now. I mean, let's hope let's hope it worked. We'll see what happens. Because I don't think the state proved shit. I don't think the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he wasn't acting in self-defense. It's not the defense. It's not his job to prove that he was acting in self-defense. It's the state's it's the state's job. And the state did a fantastic job proving that he acted in self-defense. They put their foot in their mouths every step of the way. Exactly. You see what's happening in Australia. Anyway, but I'm going to get out of here for the night. I appreciate y'all guys sticking it out with me. I had a whole lot of fun doing this. Better do this more often. I see my Uncle Hotep always going live. It's kind of dope. Anyway, like I said, I appreciate y'all sticking around. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. You know what I mean? Hit that share button. Share this out. Yeah, you're right. The prosecution should be disbarred. They're horrible. I appreciate you, yo. Salute to you. Like I said, if y'all ain't, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button. Let's get the word out there. I'm trying to beat that algorithm. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. Get me up there, man. I'm trying to get my message out there. I'm trying to get the Hotep's message out there. I appreciate it, that's church. Anyway, this Cannon Hotep. I holla.